Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock on a Monday afternoon here as we get going into the final couple hours of, another positive day for stocks as we continue to march higher. In the overall market, a couple things of note here to kick things off right away. SBGI, St. Clair Broadcasting up nicely here, 3%. It is on the way back down. There was a note that Amazon, could be interested in investing in part of their broadcasting business. So SBGI, the one you want to look at for that. There's Amazon, still positive on the day, but didn't really react to that. It's on the sports side of things. Way for them to potentially expand their broadcast offerings in the sports realm. It's worth noting down here is a bit of a problem today across the board. Volume very, very light, as you can see, compared to where we were on Friday. But Amazon up nicely anyways, 2.8% to the upside across the board. Retailers positive outside of Home Depot. Take a look at Home Depot's daily chart if you have a second this afternoon. Impressive move, to say the least, in the past month or so. All the discretionary names up here, Procter & Gamble, Coke, Pepsi, that type of world today, putting in pretty good gains as well, as is Meta. 3.5% at one point. Google, 2.7%. Oracle up nicely. Yeah, Netflix on a pretty good day as well, almost 3% still. NVIDIA down here, still 2%. The rest of the chips lagging ever so slightly. We'll get into potentially why. Coming up here this afternoon, Apple, a problem, still some China question marks surrounding what happened on Friday. We'll touch on that as well. Pretty good afternoon, though, overall, as we head towards the holiday break here for the market. If you're wondering, the market is closed next Monday. So if you open your platform and nothing is moving, that is probably why. Here is the S&P 500 right now. We're getting very, very close, and I bring this up just because it's kind of interesting going back to Thursday. We're getting very, very close to that high. We'll see if anything happens. But again, bottom of the screen here, a bit of a problem. Not a lot of volume today, to say the least. We were expecting it to be that way, so one of those things you just kind of have to embrace. Michael Nos was with us in the pre-market, highlighting the fact that if we do get a break, that's fine. Lots of time to put into research and looking at what worked for you this year, what didn't work for you this year, how you can expand on obviously what did and what didn't you put in the back seat and get rid of altogether. Let's talk a little bit about what we were discussing. If you were with us in the pre-market this morning, Amazon was not one of those, but NIO was one of those, catching a $2 billion investment from the same company that put $1 billion into them going back a month ago from Abu Dhabi. 5.3% here. It's been a bit of a fade since the open. That was where the market opened today, 860. They are long. That company is long, all the way down at 750. So a good day for them.
So we'll get to NVIDIA. I almost said we'll get to NVIDIA. We'll get to Nio in a quick second, but NVIDIA, wow. Wow, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA broke that 500 level. You already know all about that by now. I was short into it, a couple of scalp trades, but did not get the reversal on the long. So I want to look to join the party. I think you got 5.0, a couple of big levels just to get to, because this is what's happening right now. 5.06, lower high. It was a 5.03 on the earnings. So those are the two levels I think you got to work towards before you get next resistance on NVIDIA. So there's still some room for that bad boy to run. Oh yeah, positions. I have to take a fill somewhere. Otherwise, you're not going to see what's going on in the position board. So I'll just grab a fill quickly here somewhere, and then we'll be able to work it out. So I'm still in the Nio trade. There you go. Held on to some for the dream. It didn't really give the push that I was looking for. I could have doubled down in there at 11 o'clock, got up from the desk. You know what happens. We finished the morning show, and it's like, okay, get up, get a chance for a bit of a break. And that was exactly the moment when I could have reloaded on Nio. So I anticipated, we thought there'd be a kind of like the gap fill to the downside, sell the event, sell the gap up. That's what happens on the Chinese ADRs so often. And when you see that pattern, I waited for the dip. I thought we'd go 830. 825 to 830 was the entry zone based on previous resistance in here. So as it got to the downside, I took a couple of shots at it before actually getting the good long. 502, seriously, NVIDIA? Did you just take that long?
Yeah, I took it through 502, but it doesn't seem like it's really going to be continuing. A bit of a stall, but
scalp something.
yeah.
I mean, that's such a good long right now. Anyways, just to finish your thought, that's the level. It was 825. It held it. It gave 855 as the best out. Had to have a couple of small wins and a couple of stop outs before actually getting it for good on NIO. But right now, the story is NVIDIA. Maybe there's something else going on, but NVIDIA absolutely flying. If it pulls back into 500 and holds the bid there, maybe that's the place for ye old to dip by.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of a pull back through, so I'm just gonna hop out of that. But yeah, 502 was pretty strong there on the first push, but 500 break. That's where I think that's where the money trade definitely was. We saw that break kind of happen there quite vigorously. I think you saw it a little bit. You were involved in it, or you took it through the 500?
I was short. I held some as it was going, and I went to reverse. Did not get to fill long because I wasn't that aggressive with my order to reverse.
Yeah.
And I think if you paid 50 half, you would have got long. I mean, if you pay like the 20s in that move, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate thing. Sometimes you get these big even dollar breaks, and sometimes there's great liquidity. You're gonna get like the first 10, 20 cents. It's a $500 stock. So, sometimes it's going to have a little more slippage than anticipated. And there's always a punch long through a break that you don't want. So we use limit orders. Like I would never go long on an even dollar break with a market order. Because I don't think you want to take what if for some reason it feels like 501.20 on a 500 break? That's not really a trade a trader's trying to make. I'm going to pick the quarters. I'll pick like 30s or 20s or something like that. Sometimes you get like 05s or something along those lines. But anyways, that was Nio. I think you had one chance to dip by on NIO. After that, other opportunities out there in the market. But yeah, what else we got going on here? Because the market is a beast. There's a reason why we can't change these bulls. You just can't do it. You can't do it. You can't.
The pressure is very, very clear on the day. Like we've held that morning consolidation, and then we dip down into it. You hold a base both on the S and the NQ, kind of above that consolidation, and then you get a strong continuation there. But yeah, not really reflected sentiment there on Nio. We talked about some of those levels coming in. I was waiting for that 930, and that 930 never really came. $9.30. And we've only been kind of selling off and holding underneath the VWAP for now on Nio. But something interesting to note is that these lows were holding above last week's consolidation highs.
Apple here. I was just noticing the market back to highs. Just watch out if anyone's looking at energy stocks right now. Oil at session lows and continuing its march lower back to $72. It's still up 1% on the day, but remember, we were up more than 3 in early trading this morning. So straight to the downside right now for oil, with under 30 minutes to go in the day for futures trading. Let's talk about, speaking of futures trading, great segment, by the way, today. 0.76 to the downside here for Apple. If you missed it back on Friday after the close, there was another report of expanded limitation for Chinese government officials to be using iPhones. Once again, we made the case this morning that who cares, essentially. It's such a small potential hit for them that does this even matter?
Exactly, yeah. Citi came out after the initial report back in the summer or in September when Bloomberg first reported this. Citi came out and said, that they did the math and that total government orders or purchases of iPhones in China accounts for less than 1% of overall China revenue. So it's a very small piece. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, in September, Bloomberg came out and said that government agencies were asking employees not to bring in their iPhone to work anymore. And this is just an expansion of that policy, or so is being reported right now by Bloomberg, friends.
So relative weakness, to say the least, obviously today, the market up 0.8, Apple down about the same here. So a bit of a pullback underway, it would appear, for Apple.
Apple will be my frustrating stock of the day. No question about it. Hate you guts, Apple. Had it early, pivoted to Meta, shouldn't have done so. Apologies for the wick in there, but this is the 196.5 level we discussed in the morning. And it basically just came from looking at Friday's trade. So it failed around the $200 level. You had support, just underneath the 197. Pre-market highs was 196.5, so you get to short off that level. Stopped it out tight, looked for re-entry, jumped over to the Meta long, quick in and out, and then missed a chance at the short. Had a couple of scalp trades to the short side after that, but none with any real success. So Apple, very, very frustrating this morning, because I kind of had it right at the open, but things are going to happen. Like Meta was a surprise. Meta kind of came out of nowhere, and at 9:30, it went from kind of having an idea what I wanted to do first to, quick little breakout trade in Meta, and next thing you know, Meta went absolutely ham. It was the right call to move to Meta. Probably should have just stuck with it after that, but it's going to happen to you. Like you might plan like an A setup or whatever you like at the open, then you see a better opportunity or a different opportunity that's freer money, and you're just going to go over and jump into that. So Apple still relatively strong, but this market is absolutely flying as NVIDIA, again.
Yep.
NVIDIA is ridiculous.
Yeah, I took that scalp once again. And yeah, kind of, again, NVIDIA not really a name that I trade too often, but I'm kind of watching how this move happens, kind of strong pullbacks and then strong pops. Again, being a $500 ticker, I think you got to give it room to work. And yeah, giving it a couple of points may be the way to do it. Yeah, there we go. So I was posted kind of with a limit, and it's kind of funny. Punching in, I think, Neil, you're definitely right on that. Punching in, you can get some random, not really random, but like really far out prices from what you really want there. And kind of holding on to that order with a limit might be much, much better from a couple trades. I've only taken 2 trades on this so far, but that 502 coming back in been real nice. But yeah, back to Apple here. Coming in the morning, we noticed that it was a little distinctly different, moving around. There goes Nvidia. Just watching it from the corner of my eye. 503 incoming. But yeah, strong weakness, strong dump off the open, consolidates in and around that 195. We took it a little bit long there initially off of a hold in and around that 195, but it seems like it kind of reclaimed VWAP and retraced that whole move and kind of caught up with this raging market here. So a nice little V-shape recovery off of the first 15-minute candle. The most of the selling that we've done on Apple today was all in the first 15 minutes. We've only been buying a lot more after that. Kind of the buy demand is definitely a lot more after that first 15-minute candle on Apple, and we're pushing back towards highs while Nvidia is pushing for new highs.
All right, let's go on to Snapchat once again, trying to hold on to a positive day here, but pretty ugly looking reversal candle forming on the daily chart at this point so far today. Back to $17, basically the high from Thursday and Friday last week. There was this. Guggenheim with a nice note, upgrading the stock still, pointing to $23, so still a little ways to go here, potentially to the upside for Snap.
Yeah, Brendo, the analyst here at Guggenheim, Michael Morris, upgrading it really to 23 from 9, saying that the digital advertising space is going to be very strong in 2024, making notes with respect to Amazon's digital advertising as well as Netflix with their ad tier. So he's bullish on the space, and part of that is Snapchat.
Stock has more than doubled, so obviously it's in time for a bit of a pullback potentially here anyway.
If you find yourself in High Point, North Carolina, and you're in need of a tasty beverage, then welcome on over to Doug Duggart's Snapple and Grapple. So anyways, y'all ain't gonna get that one, so I don't care. But I had to say it because Obi had me tripping off of that from Mad TV back in the day. And it's the only chance I'm ever gonna get to do that. It's one of the greatest sketches that Keegan-Michael Key has ever done. And if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Snapchat, however, failed break, yuckity yuck. I thought this was gonna see a move into 20 if it held to 17. So, everything was looking really good on this on the 15-minute. Like you had up down, you get a bit of a chop off the 17, looking to break it out. It gapped above, held support, took out the high. There was just no continuation. Unfortunately, one of the things I like when you have a break above a level like this is you want to stair step up. I'm just looking for any reason to get into the long above your breakout level. It just didn't happen unless you took it at the open. It consolidates underneath support and then breaks down. And then that's it. It's trying at 17 even here, so maybe we get a chance. Off 17, it's just way too weak. You have a market which is showing you all kinds of strength. This is an abject fail. Well, it's not really a fail. It's just a healthy pullback when you look at the daily chart. But it was not an opportunity to go long unless you just kind of grip it and rip it off the 50 level, take a quick scalp trade, and then walk away. If anything, the short was certainly better. Oh, only because we're not going to get to talk about chips. I'm just going to pivot here for a second. One, while NVIDIA does you-know-what, which is go absolutely ham to the upside, AMD is doing absolutely nothing here at VWAP. Now, I'm not saying I want to short AMD, but the plan was to short 140, which obviously never happened because you don't see any executions here. I'm in short Intel at 46 even, which looks like this. It's a very similar, like up, down, off VWAP, off the 46 level. I'm short here at 46.01, working it into 45.80. But I see AMD in the same way. Like if the market's making a top, like this is not going, it's not strong. It's NVIDIA that's going, SMCI, and some other names are strong. And when I see relative weakness, I think it's an opportunity. If it fails VWAP, look for consolidation under this afternoon. If it maybe pops and fails 138, do a pop and fade. Until this starts showing some strength, I mean, you can see what the strong stocks are. Like right now, Snapchat, nope. AMD, nope. NVIDIA, yep. Mara, oh my goodness, Mara. By the way, anyone that hasn't been paying attention to Mara, look at Mara.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was looking at that earlier at that top from that 19 top. Held, eh?
Last time I checked, the trend is your friend. Until it gets to 20, and then it's probably a short up there. But, you know, until that happens. So Snapchat, I thought it was going to be a good breakout. Maybe we'll have to look for that to make another run above 17 tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's a name we can keep on watch. Again, pointing out that it has been having quite a significant trend, and yeah, we've sold off all day. But yeah, taking a look at the longer term trend, we haven't necessarily violated or broken any part of this trend. Just coming back into some of that trend support here on a strong flush off of VWAP there. So yeah, I guess we were looking for that long for a nice little push off the open, but we pull back, and it could be just some more of this healthy price action in this trend that we've been having. Again, this is not going straight up, but you can see that it has nice healthy wave-like action within the trend, and it's holding and supporting even after a strong flush off of these 18 highs on the day. So definitely I agree with you there, Neil. Something to keep on watch going forward this week, and maybe continue on to the next as well.
Yep.
All right, don't look now. Affirm just went positive on the day, 0.5% to the upside anyways. We sat here for quite a while at 44, kind of chopping around, not really doing much. But if you missed it this morning, downgrade on Affirm after, yeah, that happened. This thing goes from 16 to 46 since the beginning of November, but right back up here.
Brendo, I'm going to put you on the spot. What percentage is Affirm up on the year?
Many.
Like that. A measly, Brendo, a measly 356%.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's a good look. No, in all seriousness today, I believe it's Morgan Stanley, the analyst there, James Fawcett, basically saying, while we believe Affirm is executing well amid its goal of becoming a more meaningful player in the payments landscape, at $44, we believe the market has gotten ahead of itself. They're saying it's priced to perfection, and they're looking for a move down.
The market says whatever, because it just broke through $44 anyways. Back higher, guys.
Whatevs, he says. Like what an absolute powerhouse, just a juggernaut it was. And the good news is, you know, unlike the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff, I was able to make an adjustment and sort of, you know, you got to be able to give up the game plan at some point. And I shorted only two levels on Affirm, 42 and 43. So a couple of shorts in 42 into 41.5, stop out, short off the 43 level, take profits, stop, short in there again, and then tight stop outs. This again, it's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to be against the grain, right? Like you try to join the trend, but if you have a short idea and a setup for a stock, sometimes you're going to be wrong. And when you're wrong, all you can do is limit the loss. Like you're going to come in some days and you're going to have an idea and it's not going to be correct and the market's going to do something else. All you can do is lose as little as possible and then try to focus on, you know, finding that next trade and those other opportunities out there. So that's what we did today. The interesting thing is it's actually at the 44 level, which is the other one that I like. And 44, if you look at the daily chart, I mean, Sharif just said it's up a bajillion% on the year, 356, I don't know, 356%. Pretty impressive. But, I mean, it matters where it comes from. Like, these percentages are amazing, but you remember when you zoom out of these things, and when it actually goes further back than this, I don't know why it's only going to 2022, you can get bigger percentage gains from the bottom on the stocks that lose like 80, 90%. So when a stock falls 90% from like whatever hundreds it was at and goes down into single digits, well, it's going to be able to rally. That's just the way that things work. It's just math. So it's impressive you find those bottoms, but it's all in perspective. And there's definitely some big levels coming in for resistance. Now, $50 is one of them. The reason I said 44 was as simple as Friday's close. We closed at $44. 43 was previous support. And then 42 was another key failure point going all the way back in the charts. That's why I like those levels. It feels like to me this could be a fade zone on Affirm, but I've been wrong about it all day long. So, you know, why start now? You can always try to find something else a little bit better. And my goodness, NVIDIA, it just can't stop, won't stop. 503 in play. 03, 06, those are the fade zones. And I only just noticed that on the bottom there, it's like, yeah, the Neil, Brendan, Sean. Although Sean is on vacation today, so that'll be correct tomorrow. Well, actually, wait a minute. No, I'm off tomorrow. So, well, it'll be correct eventually.
Affirm kind of strong. We were looking for that pullback in the morning because again a little bit of a gap down, and I think they got was it a downgrade from Morgan Stanley as well. But we talk about it staying well within this trend we've been having since earnings, and it's pretty much done the same. You kind of come in to those previous week levels and hold a support very distinctly right off the open, off of that 141, and then now we're reclaiming into the end of last week's ranges right here, 47 all the way to 43-ish area. So we've reclaimed within this range. So yeah, a little bit of strength coming in on Affirm today, kind of off of the downgrade, right? You can't just it kind of goes to show that, like, just because we talk about this often, just because it's a downgrade, you don't necessarily want to get short right off the gate, right? And it's like this is a good situation where you have that downgrade news, but clearly buyers are in charge.
All right, interesting look here for FCell right back down today after this note this morning on XOM. Carbon capture facility going to be created on a team up between the two. Still positive on the day, but give it a few minutes. It probably won't be. So unfortunate for FCell after a huge move in the pre-market.
Yeah, nice team up here with XOM, with ExxonMobil. They plan on building a plant in the Netherlands. It's supposed to be a trial between these two companies. I think the technology is quite cool. I have nothing disrespectful to say about it. Let's see how it works out in real life. With respect to the name, though, FCell is down 37% year to date before the move, and they do report before the bell tomorrow, guys. It is widely expected for them to have a negative EPS and about revenue of $25.5 million. We'll have to see how they do, but if you're involved in this name, make sure to know that they report before the bell.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. BlackBerry, not tomorrow, Thursday. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but another one reporting this week. Go take advantage of this right now. This starts tomorrow. You can win $2,200 on an Amazon gift card, all courtesy of our friends over at Trade Ideas. TraderTV.live will get you started. As we were saying with Michael Nos this morning, it's a great time to kind of take a step back, have a look at what worked for you this year, have a look at what didn't work for you this year, find some new trade setups, find some new trade ideas. Full back testing suite available with Trade Ideas. Go take advantage of that. Holiday competition, Master Challenge. They're having 2,200 gift card on Amazon card, potentially available for you. Trader TV 25. Shout out to Trade Ideas.
And when you win, if you win, when you win, however you want to frame it, you can get yourself a sweet 100 apple fritters for that $2,200. Wow. I mean, you know what? I don't even know how much it's going to cost. I'm assuming that's probably US dollars. So I don't know how much it costs to get a fritter in the States. But I'm sure you can get 100 of them. You probably don't want to eat 100, but I do. So we'll leave it at that. You're going to see Intel just came out for me. This market is relentless. Intel's been It's been relatively weak. It's still down on the day, but it just took out a local high. I had a lower high short into the bottom, had a VWAP short that, I mean, the buying, suffice to say, when this higher low hit, I wish I could tell you I had a long bias. I didn't. But man, that lower high was a really good one. It just accelerated the second I got out. And then I jumped back in at the pre-market. It's not the pre-market. It's pre-market lows and the opening range top. There for just over 46. It essentially was giving you like moves into 45.90, and that's it. And then it just broke out that high. So yes, this is a relatively weak name, but it's stair-stepping to the upside. So I just jumped out of it. What I do think is rolling over, however, is Mara at 20. So if you're watching the morning show, this is $20 on Mara on the daily chart. It's not an insignificant level. Bitcoin is still under 42, but close enough to the highs that you got to watch out for it. But this is starting to roll back underneath. 1991 is the current high of the day. It would be amazing if I was able to get a 1979 short, because that's a great year. I can't imagine why it is, but it is a good one. But I do like the potential here. I don't think you necessarily have to get VWAP. Usually in a counter trend, short off of a high like this, I'm thinking VWAP. But at the right price, you can get the bulk out in front of 50 if you get a good price. And then you can cover out in front of this 19 quarter level. So that's what I would be looking at, like the key price levels. That's all assuming I can get in without having to chase it down way too far. You're getting super, super strong moves here. Coinbase is also at resistance. Maybe that's setting up better. Coinbase wicked 154. So you could maybe look at this one as well. It's at a resistance point. Maybe 155 is a better level for Coinbase. But Coinbase and Mara, absolute rocket ships for most of the day here today. I actually had a long that I didn't give a chance off 150.
That's it.
I tend to do that. What's interesting is there are breakout trades that if it happens at 9:30, it's like it's easy. But if it happens in like lunchtime in the middle of the day, it's not as easy catching that break. That's why I always say like buy the dip if you can, because the breakout trade time of day can be really, really tricky. But I look back and say like, what am I even doing at that 150? If I just do it one more time, when it breaks out the second time, it's absolute gold. Anyways, doesn't matter. I got to move on to the next. I think the next can be a short.
Yeah, I think I find myself sometimes as well, like trying out a level, but not really staying involved. And then you look away. Sometimes if it was a decent level, more often than not, it may work, but just takes a couple of tries to kind of try it out there. But yeah, FCell, kind of a strong sell-off off the open. We talk about this name. I mentioned it being a little bit of a repeat offender in the morning, and it hasn't really continued the move off of this base here, but it's only sold off of this 190 as well. So straight selling all day. You got this high volume candle into this flush here of this consolidation low, and then yeah, it seems like we're just coming in to what seems to be last week's levels at the 1/2s right here on FCell. So that's a pretty decent move if you're looking for the short. But yeah, oil definitely moving there, Neil, and higher up from last week. We were looking at that 100 level here on XOM as well, and the 100 halves hold all day on Friday, and today we come in and we gap up above that range, get a nice little pop, but it seems like we're doing a little bit more consolidation, still holding these highs here on XOM. So yeah, I think we definitely got to be keeping an eye out for oil going forward.
Yes, sir, Obi. Actually, that's a good look because I didn't even think to look at XOM.
That 102 is nice as well. Last week's highs.
It's so like look at the daily chart. We're just talking about this at 98. Like it breaks 100. It's just seemingly been a buy. It bounces off 98 again. Just gonna check CVX. Oh, I got into AMD by the way. So we'll get to AMD in a quick second. But Chevron, the 141 on Chevron's been absolute gold on this stock. So there's the daily chart. Okay, 141, 142. Your bottom wicks are 141, but 142 has been equally good. And this is up now back at the 50-period moving average. So this is, now personally, I own Chevron. That's why I'm saying I like it better. But X1 probably a stronger chart. But look at the support levels that come in. When you get that, you get the consolidation. Grip it and rip it is one way to say it. Or tackle and grapple, whichever one you happen to be into. So there's AMD. It's still like Intel, red on the day, I wanted to push into 139. As it happened, we're at the high of the day, almost 1% on the NASDAQ. You're getting this big, strong push up. But any pullback here, I'd rather short a weak stock or a key price level. Chasing the longs, I want it to be in something giving me a good setup. I would like to think that can be at some point Nvidia, but you take the trade that's next. That's a wick top into 90. Easy fade for me once it gets to VWAP, taken out at 1-to-1, and then see if it can't get underneath VWAP here down into the 50s, and then try to hold.
Oh boy,
so
what was that?
it's kind of a normal setup where you're just looking for a resistance level. If you're patient, the idea is that it tries to run and break the top. You see it fail at the resistance level or the even dollar, whatever it is, and then short it back underneath. So this is already starting to come back in on AMD, and then Mara just filled. I wasn't joking. I actually put my order at 1979.
Oh, nice.
I was going to offer 80, but you guys can probably guess why I put the order there. By the gray hairs in my head. So I am into Mara. Now, $20 might be resistance, but the current high is 1991. So I'm risking it to the current high on Mara rather than just giving it to the even dollar 20. Like, I'd rather give it to the current high of the day and then be able to take multiple shots at it.
Yeah, so I got a little long on Google much earlier. When was this? In and around 1:45-ish time, and just looking for this hold above prior lows here. This 136 holding. This was a structure in the morning. Again, I tried the short multiple times, going into that 135 once, twice, thrice, and 4 times as well. The 4th time I was like, okay, this is much better, but I kind of hold it for the move, and it comes right back in with a strong bid and clips me out there on the Google. But yeah, coming back in, 137's come into play. 137 makes a little bit of a top. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's get involved for the short back in towards these lows. That never really comes in, and I see it consolidating and holding above this 136. So I did get a little long there, but it seems like we're coming right back in to some of these levels here. So I just want to get out of this piece right here, 136. If that's going to be weak as the market kind of pushes towards its highs, comes in for a little bit of a pullback. A little short here on Softy as well, in and around the same levels as where the selling came in this morning. At 373, decent area. Okay, this is not getting me out of my Google L. So you know what? Let me just hop out of that much faster there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So that 136 looking a little weak there. So I got out. Hopped out of that trade, but the Softy, I like the short right as of right now, in and around a similar level. But if we're going to continue pushing back up, that's perfectly fine as well. We'll stop out of that trade. But I think exercising some of this, I think I was talking to Neil earlier. I was just like, sometimes I find myself talking too much about the trade, talking too much about the level, and not actually taking the trade. So I was like, I'll just shut up and take the Softy short here and test the idea. And we did get stopped out initially, and then when it comes back in, I do want to get involved once again for that piece. Again, if Alphabet's going to be pulling back as well, kind of a bending of the trend happening on Google here. If I can show you guys. A little bit of a bend. Hasn't really broken back below VWAP, but if I'm long above that 136, and if we're going to come back in, we got a lot of space until VWAP 135.50s, where this could easily come into that level and then hold the bid there, and still very well retain the trend on the day, which is to the upside above VWAP, above that 135 half. So I do want to get out of the way there. Just trying to stay as nimble as possible with this name. Again, we chopped ourselves up a little bit here in the morning on Google. Didn't really get long. Finally decided to go long later on in the day, and it seems to be a little weak. So again, I'm trying to stay as nimble as possible. Got the short underneath that 373 on Softy. Let's see how that'll work out. Nvidia is still holding well,
but above
503s, and something else as well, of course, Amazon. Holy, we made it to 155, and I'm like, okay, well, I was looking for a little bit of a bid earlier to get involved in. We had the 150 long. Too bad I didn't hold that name, but Amazon here, what Was it up and to the right? That's if that's the correct terminology there, Neil. Up and to the right, very, very strong. Look at this. Look at these candles as well.
It's not so much that it's a correct terminology. It's literally the only way to read a chart. Like you don't like the time. You don't go back in time.
Yeah, you can't go left.
Up and to the right. Yeah. Like it's. You know how anyone that you know how I feel about that saying. It's a little redundant. It doesn't make any sense. And if you can't tell. Had to make sure I threw that one in there for you. Because at the end of the day, the markets seem to like it when the Buffalo Bills win. That's my takeaway from there. But you're right about that. Like the trend on Amazon has been impressive today.
Look at the 15-minute candles. Like there's a buyer on this thing. The buyer above 150. That's what I'm seeing.
It's not to say that that's just like the highest percentage gainer, because like it's not. Meta's actually up more than Amazon is, but the difference between the two is like Meta found a top and is kind of holding that high, whereas Amazon's been continuously churning higher. So I would almost say this afternoon it's been the stronger of the two stocks. It's just a matter of how it's getting there. So I'm in 2 trades. Well, okay, fine. I'm still in Nio, but that's not new. We've been in Nio since this morning. Bounce off VWAP there on AMD. But still a lower high, so still looking okay on AMD. Mara kind of consolidating here at the 1980 level. So it's not a huge size seller at 1980, but there's enough there. It got to that price, filled a bunch, kind of just held. So the 80 is holding for now. If it gets up there one more time, tries to break 80 and rejects it, I might short some more at the lower high and then just have a tight stop on the half that I get in. If I add more at that price, let's see what happens. On Mara, the other one is this NVIDIA. Oh, Elon, you're right. Okay, NVIDIA is starting to pull back. So that should be good for AMD. If NVIDIA, I'll tell you this much. If NVIDIA pulls back to 500 and AMD doesn't at least drop like 50 pennies, then I will be not flummoxed, but that would be frustrating because I felt like that's the easier one to do. But Elon just said, have a look at Rivian because Rivian's taking out the high of the day. And I'm like, yes. First of all, you like your Rivian. Rivian with ye old hold of 15. Hold the 50, break the 50 and 200 period moving average. Hold the 50 and 200 period moving average right there. That is a fantastic entry for a swing. Happen to know. And it's not there yet, but it's going to get to, well, it looks like it wants to get to 25. That's 25 in the daily. Right here, going back to September. That seems like the next stop. Can it get there today? Nah, probably not. But that doesn't mean there isn't a long opportunity. Now this is breaking out the highs. So 23.50, that was the kind of resistance level from pre-market. I think any dip that holds that price or around it, you kind of look for the long on Rivian. Like this is one because of the break it's making on the daily. Like it's busting that support. I'd give it a chance. Like underneath 50 again, I think you can think about the short, but this looks like a pretty strong stock to me. Let's see if it can happen. NVIDIA, NVIDIA doesn't even break through 02s there.
Yeah, I'm watching it pull back to 303s as well. A bit of, again, talking about Rivian, I think some people in the chat as well, I'm trying to remember the name here, Mr. Fabric. Yeah, Mr. Fabric saying Tesla's acting crazy today. Yeah, some strong drive off the open as we saw that 255 kind of break coming in. Last week's highs as well, a strong push through those levels, comes into 260, can't really make it too far past the 259, and then pulls right back in. And where does it stop? Day low, which also happens to be this strong consolidation at the end of last week as well. So a little bit of a test towards that 260 on Tesla, but not really looking like a Rivian there, Neil. Rivian kind of doing its own thing here to the upside, and Tesla kind of coming back into its low of day. Nice little sell-off happening off of this morning strength there. Very different from a lot of these other names. We can see that Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, even the SPYs are holding their gains quite well there, and Tesla kind of struggling to do the same. Meta as well, can't be forgetting Meta. Meta super strong there, Neil. Again, holding well within the upper quartile of its momentum in the morning there. So let's check our friend AVGO as well. We're looking at this for a continuation trade, and yeah, look at that. As I'm speaking, Neil, AVGO is breaking last week's highs.
You're kidding me. Is that
It's got to get
11.50
long.
or is it past
This is 11:51. 11:51 and a half is a day high right now.
I guess you just gotta own like where's that going? The question is where's that going? It'd be interesting if they do a reverse split next year on Broadcom. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me. But as you mentioned with Tesla, like Tesla could be like the last man standing. This is a real wick at the open, like down in, it's bouncing off the opening range bottom and trying to get through morning support. So like right at noon, it was at 253. If this holds 53, I mean, you could see this could easily get to VWAP. I mean, it's been the weak stock, the black sheep, whatever you want to call it, but it hasn't been a good one. Intel just came back in here. So Intel, look at the game it's just playing. I could also be longing the 90s if it just wants to play this game. But anyways, I'm back into the short on Intel. It's been a good short because it's been pretty easy to be disciplined with it, but I'm back in at 6. If it breaks 10s, I probably just get away from this, and then you can see like the out's been down around like the low to mid 90s. On Intel, we'll see if we can get that one. Mara's starting to check up there, partly because A, Coinbase high of the day. B, have we shown the Bitcoin chart? Here, we'll show the BTC chart for you guys. Coinbase making another run at the high. Bitcoin's also at resistance. So I saw someone in the chat's like, oh, you're anticipating, not participating in Mara. Well, it's threefold. So like you're bouncing off of resistance on BTC. And then specifically, I mean, Coinbase is doing it too, but then specifically on Mara, like you're at resistance on the daily as well in front of the $20 level. So I'm just looking for any setup, consolidate off the high, doesn't get to 2019.91, short the first consolidation underneath because I have a confluence of things showing me resistance points. And so that's the reason I'm in it. It doesn't have to work, but that's a setup. If it was just Mara by itself, I probably don't get in here. But given the fact that I had the level on the daily, given the fact that Bitcoin was at that resistance, it's enough for me to jump into that trade. Matt Booth saying squares at resistance, that would not surprise me one bit based on what I just saw. We just showed Mara, we just showed Coinbase, Bitcoin as well. And a lot of times square is just going to follow. So that's more or less the same thing. Like there'd be 0 point in me trying to put that trade on because I'd have to think it's better than the one I'm in, which it might be. But again, I'm already in a trade which is essentially likely to mirror that same setup. And when that's the case, you don't necessarily want to jump in and take over. It's over trading. B, like where's the alpha there? Like you could have, checking out this BMRA, you could have some kind of overall strategy where you take the group for a certain amount, like you take 20% of Riot and 15% of Mara. I knew a guy who used to trade like that, but he had a very specific, if he was tracking X, and these were the 3 or 4 things he wanted to trade, he had a weighting he would do in all of them, and then he'd have like take profits, and then the one that was outpacing after a certain time period, he'd cover the others for profit or whatever, and then he'd hold the one that was doing the best out of the group. But it was like he had it all back tested, and there was a reason why he would do it that way. So that's why you might take Mara, Riot, Coin all at the same time, but it has to be part of some larger strategy or just stick to one. So BMRA just took out the highs here. And I just want to double check because I was looking at this one, I think when you guys first brought it up in the chat, like just a few minutes ago, but it hasn't gotten through this $2. There's no real obvious levels until you look at 2 quarter. Like 2 quarter is the big one, and then $2 is just it's not bad. It's certainly a round number, but 2 quarter, I'd watch out for a break here because a break of 2 runs into overhead resistance at 225. I'd be a little bit careful to jump into that one. IVVD is flushing. Oh yeah, now it flushes. I don't like this stock. So I was in the first, I didn't take the flat bottom break, should have. Talked about it at the midday while it was on, didn't do it. And then it had the first consolidation shorted it till it stopped out there. It made the wick high to 80. I'm like, okay, I'll grab something at 70 and see if I can give it to 80. Well, you can see how well it filled me above 70. Didn't, and now it's flushing. So again, stick-to-itiveness is going to matter sometimes. It's more the setup than anything else. When it flat bottom breaks, I'm just looking for the short underneath that 380 price, and you take whatever you can get. And when you have a setup or a pattern like this on that flat bottom break, I'm always going to want to take it. The other stock that was moving in the middle of the day, I'm not sure it's done yet, but we'll see, is Mullen at 12 cents. So Mullen, for anyone that if you weren't paying attention, you don't know the story here, Mullen has once again, for the, I don't know, like, I'm just going to get 5 times, 6 times. Another reverse split was voted yes. So it kind of doing what Mullen does when that happens, which is suck. So it went all the way down. It bounced off 10. I went long 11 into 12.5. And now it's got resistance at 12. So I'm thinking 12 short on Mullen is the next play here. I paid for locate, so I'm ready to go. Just can't seem to buy through that 12 level on Mullen.
Yeah, I'm still. I guess I'm looking for the next trade here, Neil. Very, very strong on a lot of these names here, and I'm looking at some of the names you guys are talking about as well. I pulled up Riot. Again, we just talked about Mara and Riot, kind of doing the same thing here. Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin as well. Here, nothing too crazy, other than the fact that we're still well within that range from last week. We saw some strong dips happen into the 40,000, and we've only been holding a bid above that 40,000 over and over again, even with these strong sells. Yeah, a little bit more of the same happening today, and then our crypto-related names also catching a decent amount of a bid off of that Bitcoin hold, it would seem. And yeah, Mara, Riot, also another one I'm not forgetting. I know you guys have pointed this one out before. We talk about how we don't really cover this one, so I'm going to try to cover it a little bit more, is CLSK. CLSK also being a crypto miner. It does decent volume as well. I'm just looking here. Average 30-day volume is about 25.8, so 26 mil on average, and it's done about 21, 22 mil today. And yeah, take a look at it. Kind of a similar sentiment there. Strong, just strong off the open, but a little bit more sideways. Maybe a little bit different than Mara and Riot, which have been, which have had more of a strong uptrend on the day. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with the short floats. I'll have to go back and check relative short floats on each of these names, and then see if some of this buying pressure is driven by that potential. But
Riot's
regardless,
19%.
Riot's 19%. Okay.
And Mara is 26.
Mara is 26. What about CLSK?
CLSK 9.
9%. Okay. Thank you, Neil. That right there. Both Mara and Riot are double that of CLSK in terms of a short float. I don't want to make any assumptions, but that can definitely add a little bit more relative buying pressure in the name. And
oh,
it seems
100%.
like, yeah. So yeah, Neil agreeing with me as well. So I think that's you get the approval of Neil.
Well, I think that's why we trade the other one. That's why I trade the other ones.
Yeah,
I mean,
it has more of an umph.
Yeah, like a lot of times you kind of want the volatility, so you'll lean towards Riot or Mara because of that big short float. I mean, it's the reason. If you remember trading during the meme stock days, like the bigger the short float, the better. That's not always.
My scans would literally consist in the morning. One of my scans would be highest shorted names doing volume.
And that's not always the best way to go, because there's been times where you're trading in the markets and like for your strategy you don't even want a short float because like you want things to trade with a certain what's the word, like structure, let's call it. So you didn't want something with a crazy high short float. Like I find like if you really like trading big cap tech or like those high beta names, then you might not love stocks with a big short float because you're gonna behave differently at key levels. Like you can't have the same short setup on Apple that obviously that you would on Riot or Mara. Or you can sometimes. It's not always the same. Just back to the market for a second, to trading. First things first, let me get to Mara since we're on topic. Mara, it wicked the high. That's enough for me to get out 79, out 13 cents to 92. Until it gets to 20 again, I don't think I take that shot. Kind of stick to what I found that is going back to working, which was sort of scalping the range here on Intel, although it's making some higher lows that I want to respect. So you see make a few higher lows in there on Intel. Pretty strong this afternoon, despite being red on the day. Jay Lee saying, back to coin. I know you don't do in-depth analysis, and we're not asking for financial advice, but the EPS is minus 322 on coin. And this is the long I didn't stick to anyways, but the thing about fundamentals is, okay, like I'm not advocating owning Coinbase based on what I'm going to say next. But if it was all about the EPS making sense, then would anyone have owned Amazon for like 80% of the time that it's been in the market? Would anybody have made boatloads of money going long in Tesla? Did Nvidia always make sense? So like the great companies are going to grow into it, and a lot of times you have to be willing to bet on the business and what you think the future can be over the fundamentals. You just can't always look at it like that. I made the same mistake too. Like I didn't want ARM right away because I thought it was overpriced, and I ended up buying ARM at a price that was worse than I could have had if I just bought the IPO, and bought it on the first dip. But it happens. Like you just can't rely on the fundamentals entirely too much. You have to have, in the long term, it's going to matter, like the story. And part of the story is the ETFs. Part of the story is the fact that the crackdown on the SEC and that they could be the last company standing in terms of an exchange. And if that's the case, then that could bode well for them. I'm not here to be able to tell you. I'm not an analyst. I'm not trying to play one on TV. But the price action is pretty clean to the upside, although I do think there are some pullbacks that could be incoming. So back on over to something else I was going to get to. Tesla. Yeah, so about Tesla holding 253. Spoiler alert, it didn't. And then it just broke to a fresh low of the day. So now that it's trying to recover from said fresh low of the day, can it get back above the 53? Got some shorts on here as the market's holding the high, but the other way to play it is why not short the thing that's like the weakest? Tesla, actually, it's not really weaker than Intel percentage-wise, but it's weaker based on the actual momentum in the chart. I had a couple of scalp longs, one good, one bad. Now I'm just thinking, can it fail 253 area and look for that short?
Yeah, the fade off of Tesla has been pretty solid. Breaking day lows, right? So are you going to be looking for like it potentially holding that support as resistance now?
I'd like to see, if I was going to go long, I'd have to see it hold above 53.5. So until it does that, I'd be looking short for the stairs to the downside. Just try to keep it simple. When something breaks the low of the day, like a lot of times, like it's trending to the downside. There's usually a bit of a shakeout that happens when you're breaking the low of the day. So as it's shaking it out, you tend to not want to be in that short, but like being like whatever the rollover could be here off the 53 level, like that's the way I'd rather play it. So let's see if we can get that. Nvidia's still holding 03s. Like, come on, man. Like I know, what's crazy is we're just talking about 503 as a level and 506, and 503 has been the scalp short, but it's only going $1. Like it's not exact. Like Nvidia, sorry, I'm just watching Tesla here, but like Nvidia's not really pulling back much. For $500 stock, for it to only give you that $1, like what are you executing in there? 70 or 80 cents? It's really not the best in terms of a scalp setup. Because if it breaks 503, you could lose easily $1 or 50 cents or 70 cents. So to only make 70 cents scalp trade on Nvidia is no good as a trade. Like you need to be getting more than that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think it was might have been the playbook or One Good Trade or whatever. He talks about how algos there were algos programmed to hit new day lows all the time, and then that works in one market. But guess who's getting clocked? The algos. When markets continue dip and then continue to kind of pop or continue to make new lows, because what they would do is they would buy a fresh low on the market and then kind of look for the stops of the people punching in short right off of the low break and just catch that little piece. That would be the scalp. Works well, except for in a down market where stocks continue to go down. Right? You keep buying the dip, but the dip keeps dipping. It's a classic meme, but that's when
essentially
it comes into
you run into some real sellers. Like that whole thing was trying. Like the algos are trying to trap short-term traders at key price levels when they're just like buying the high of the day, shorting the low of the day. But what happens when you have like real sellers that come in at prices like that? Like the algos get destroyed. That's why the algos get so badly burned on flash news sometimes. Because if they just try the retracement play, but you're not, and they're not really reading it effectively. And suddenly it's like, no, that might be bad news, but it's real. It's going to continue to go. And when that happens, it gets nasty. Like, it's easy for us to be able to get up and be like, that looks really bad, and then we just jump out of it. Before I get too ahead of myself, oh, come on. There's the turn. Thank you, Tesla. There was the turn in Tesla. I didn't get it. Just got it. 17s. Could have had 30s. They're on Tesla. Now all of a sudden, instead of 35 cents risk, it's like 55, 60. We'll see how this. Well, I'll see how this one goes. I didn't get the best of entries here on Tesla, as it made the turn right off that resistance, but I could have been tight to the 40 level there. Instead, I got 203, 253.17. If it breaks underneath 253, I look for that half to probably get some out, and then shoot low of the day here if we're able to get that. AMD also starting to pull back. Again, off 139. Kind of tried to break it, just didn't. But I have to respect the fact it can't seem to bust VWAP, so this is an even tighter scalp trade on AMD. As the market's still trending to the upside. Like, there's no question about it. I mean, Intel, that's working back off that 46 level as well. Ishan, did Sharif recover after those 10 push-ups? Man, the Bring Sally Up challenge it ain't about the number. The whole song is 30 push-ups, but it is the hold. And I have all
static move that really.
I have all the respect. No, he almost did the entire song. Trust me, it's really hard to do.
Is it 5 minutes long?
3 minutes 37 seconds long, something like that. But like, I've seen like ridiculously strong calisthenic athletes struggle at that. So,
and he said
he's never done it, and he'd never done it before. He never even tried it.
He said he did chest and arms yesterday.
He said he did chest and arms yesterday.
He's like, I could have done more, but I'm sore from yesterday.
Ramin just said he had 20 seconds left. That's what he saw me down there. I'm like, yo, you're gonna do. He had it, by the way. I think if he could have seen that clock, I think he gets it done. And it's even more impressive if that's what he worked out the day before. So I'm gonna take some out here in AMD because for some reason, off 139, you're getting a 20-cent move, and if that's what you're getting, that's what you're getting. Nvidia just wants a high of the day here.
Yeah, these stocks keep on just, I guess you want to call it a melt up, grind up, or whatever it is. Just
you not just go long if it breaks the high again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but me here, I'm sitting short on Softy. But yeah, let's see if that kind of comes into play here. We saw how we're talking about relative strength and relative weakness. Neil, there was a trade last week on Softy that I was talking to Sean about, and he was getting short because it was relatively weak and the market was kind of pushing up, but it couldn't really get past its VWAP. And looking at it short, we were talking about it as well. And when the market actually took a turn, guess what happened to Softy that couldn't get above VWAP?
Dump city.
Straight dump city. And I was like, that is a decent probability trade if you really look at it in that direction, where it's like, okay, well, the whole market is ripping, but a name like Softy is struggling at VWAP to really get anywhere. And that's where that relative weakness comes in, because the market is strong. Microsoft is relatively weak to the strength in the market. When the market starts to get a little weak, and then Microsoft may or may not drop its bid as well. And then I think it came down crashing pretty hard here. Let me take a quick look here at what happened.
You never played RoboCop, obviously.
No, I did not. But okay, so
in the video game RoboCop, like in the arcade game, like every single time, like he'd pull his gun out, like he would just drop it, and he'd say it every single time. As if RoboCop gives warnings in the movie, and he clearly doesn't. Like, he just goes out there and like just destroys everybody. But in the video game, like, you just do it over and over again. He just keeps saying, "Drop it, drop it."
First movie or second movie or the new movie?
Well, I don't know which. It was the arcade game.
No, I'm asking you. Which one do you like better?
Dude, the first. Are you crazy? Yo, the opening of the first RoboCop movie. Like, you can't do that. Like, like that. Oh my goodness. The original. It's gangster. Like the scene, like it's not for everybody. I understand you're probably not going to be happy with the violence in the opening scene. Like, it's cold. That first movie is cold. It's completely absurd.
Seen the first one.
It's completely absurd.
Okay.
It's the most ridiculously silly and stupid idea out there, but that's how they did action movies back in the day. It didn't have to make any sense. It just had to be a little bit of fun. And it was crazy. It'd be so over the top that, like, you can't take it seriously, which I think kind of works. To be honest with you. You know what also works? Short AMD. You were just talking about things off of VWAP that are struggling to go.
I pulled up the softy chart.
139 on AMD. You talked about Microsoft there. Tesla's not doing anything, but AMD working. Like Tesla's consolidating off that short, but AMD's certainly coming down. The market's trying to fall here. And the only long I have is this Nio that I should just probably get out because it's 3 o'clock and Chinese ADR is failing VWAP. So if it gets anywhere close to VWAP, I just take that one out again. I haven't done anything with this since the morning, and it is a complete waste of time. But market be falling.
Yeah, I just realized it's 3 o'clock. Wow, time really flies when you're having fun, I guess, right, Neil? This was the day on Softy that I was sitting here with Sean, and the whole market was ripping. Last Wednesday, December 13th, you can see this consolidation going into power hour, and Softy relatively weak. Can't really get above what's happening here. Oh, okay. Graphics. All right. Might be this is the sauce, and right now we are lost in it. Okay. All right. So that 375.
We're just really excited for the market recap show today, featuring Michael Nos, special guest. It's a Monday. We got him. I don't know. That's my pivot.
This was the 375. Thank you, Neil. This was the 375 area, holding below VWAP, and then you can go back to this day on December 13th, and I wrote down a few notes about this day, about talking about relative weakness. Again, this was a Mag 7 name that displayed this characteristic, and the trade worked out quite well when the market started to pull back down about midway into power hour. Take a look at this strong quadunk that Softy has going into the close. Now, of course, you kind of bid right back up as if nothing happened into the close, but when that relative weakness gets met with market weakness as well, then you can really, this is a good example of when that sell can really come in real strong here. Action going for the pop into VWAP as well. So interesting move, relative weakness. Last week was a big, again, I heard about it, I've read about it, I've seen it every now and then, but this was one of the first times I've observed it so cleanly on a name like Microsoft, again, being one of the Mag 7.
Yeah, when you get that market weakness coinciding with that relative weakness, it's basically like when you get like a fraudulent team which has been sort of overachieving and they're flying and they're really happy with themselves because they've been getting a bunch of wins, but they haven't been beating some good teams. And when they run into an absolute like juggernaut of a team and they got to go into their house and then they get absolutely destroyed. Why you got to hit that? Who did that?
Mine's not working.
Okay, first of all. No, okay, hold on a second. Everyone knows I'm throwing shade at the Cowboys here and talking about my Bills, but I see Obi didn't have his hands. I didn't hit it. I can see Brendan didn't hit it. And Fabian is actually standing up right now, Ram. So the only person that had access to a stream deck that could have hit it is you. No, there's a phantom press, okay? Like, come on, man. Ram. I thought we were cool. All right, I see what's up.
Why you gotta cut him off, Ram?
So Ramin's trying to tell me I can literally see everybody that has a stream deck available. That's why we can always tell when it's Sharif when he's at the desk. Yeah. But he would have done that if he could have. But you know what? You go right back to this market.
Unless he took one home with him.
No, you can't do that because you got to be on the system. You have to be connected. But just to get back to the market, I just got a really lucky fill in Tesla. It's better to be lucky than good. Okay, well, being good's better. But this previous level, 252, it's like 252.63. When I got short here, I just literally parked a bid right at like a penny in front of that level. It hit right in front of the size and then came right back up. So I got a pretty lucky fill there on Tesla, but it is starting to come right back up. So a bit of a wick bottom and then holding a higher low. So that means no reload for me at that price. If it's holding higher low going into the same level after this, which is like a wick underneath the daily low, that's not a re-entry for me. It's almost like setting up a bit of a trap. So I can't turn into a loser because we got the profit take, but I don't favor the reload on that one. AMD, don't know if we get 139 again, but it did give the 138.5. Rivian's still going. Oh my goodness. remember when Neil, that's me. Remember when I was like, NVIDIA, it's not going to 25 today? I mean, it's probably not going to 25 today, but don't at me. Sometimes you say stuff like that. Like, I want it to go to 25. I own the stock. It'd be nice if it goes to 25. But damn, I didn't think that was going to happen. So yeah, just, Rivian is a great long and fantastic to anyone that's got it. I don't know that I want to call this a squeeze. It's not. It's 5% on Rivian, and it's not. It's like a 15% short float. I don't know if it's squeezing yet. Oh, that seems weird. Like, this is squeezing if it takes out 25, especially if it takes out 29. This gets past 29, and we talk about it squeezing. Like, the bigger break level was down here, and then the 25 and the 29 should be some pretty significant levels as well. So I think I don't know if it's squeezing. It's squeezing some day traders that are trying to short this, I'm assuming. There's probably some shorts in here at the 24 level. So if there's enough buying, I might try something above 24 with like a 95 stop. But it'd be a tight stop this late in the day. Should have just jumped on that dip buy down to 23.50. That's the one. That's the trade right in here. That's what you want to grab. You want to grab that long. You get 60, 61, maybe 65 tops. Your stop is underneath 50, 15, 20 cents worth of risk most. You get some out halfway, you get the rest out 24, and then Bob's your uncle.
Look there. Just reading the chat here, Juan saying, let's go Apple. Yeah, Apple kind of, well, last time I checked it, it was in and around this consolidation here above this 196. And now we're kind of slowly attempting to push towards the top. Now, again, it is 306. We've only got about 54 minutes left until the closing bell hits. And yeah, pretty decent start off to the week here. Let's take a quick look at how the day candle is kind of drawing out as well. Okay, so no real dips or pullbacks here since we kind of broke out through this trend again. Again, you guys have seen these lines on my charts multiple times. A bit of I think a lot of traders have some of this this consolidation, this kind of trend resistance break on their charts on the daily here. It's reflected in the NQ as well, and a few other large caps as well. But yeah, since this breakout, no real significant pullback. You do kind of slow down here in the 190s, but no real pullback. You kind of come in and then attempt that 200 once again. Now again, don't expect that 200. Well, I don't expect that 200 to be very clean, and it's kind of showing that uncleanliness. We're kind of chopping in and around that 200. But the question becomes that 192. I really like that 192 support from last week. We were there trading in and around that level as well. But we've only held above that level, 194 coming in as well as a little bit of support on the day today, as low of day is right there, 40 pennies above that 194. So decent move there on Apple. Are you looking at the long? If you're saying yeah, let's go Apple. Well, it's only been long off of VWAP, very very strong coming into. Was this last week's closing price? No, this action happened after the close. So yeah, we got a strong sell-off after the close as well. But we're pretty much retracing back into some of those prices. So I guess a gap fill into last week's closing price would be here at that 197, and we attempted to push into that 197 earlier on this morning, but it looks like we may be giving it a little bit of a knock coming into the close today, starting off the week with a little bit of a test of last week's close as well. So decent strength on Apple. Again, Apple's not the only one who's this strong. You can take a quick look at the NQ and you'll know that you won't have to look very far to really see some strength in the market. This is pretty much every Mag 7 name except for maybe not as much Tesla, but the rest of them super strong, kind of trading near their the upper ends of their momentum that they've had today, upper ends of the buying pressure that they've experienced today as well. So super strong market. I'm curious to know how the rest of this week kind of plays out. Some pullbacks on certain names, but certain names kind of attempting to test their highs again. That 200 on Apple, Nio, I think when that comes in, that things will really get a little spicy. Again, NQ already broke out of its highs, so I think maybe if NQ kind of holds and we continue to push through the 17, that Apple 200 is well within range in my opinion.
That's going to be a really crowded trade in both directions. Yeah. Like what I'm feeling is bamboozlement. Like when it gets to Yeah, let's just say when. I mean, if it gets to 200 is a better way to say it. If it gets to 200, I'm probably going to trade it. And generally speaking, at a level like that, I prefer to just pick a direction and stick with that side. Like if I try to short it, I'd rather short it in front. And if it breaks a high, try to short it on a fail break. Or if I'm going long, just look for the long break and then try to look for a continuation move after. If you try to do both, you just get shaken in both directions. But PBLA here, and Lucas wants us to look at that. Lucas Zhang in the chat here. Look at PBLA. First things first, I did get to fill on Tesla. I did not reload it. Intel, I don't know if I want to reload this late. AMD feels like the better one of the three at this point. But this PBLA, it's a reverse split special, but no real bounce till it got to 50 cents. Okay, we've seen this setup before. Day one reverse split special. It's going to close above $1 unless something crazy happens. The big levels out here, generally speaking, it's like after the first consolidation on the dump on the reverse split. So 240, 250, $2.40 to 250. That's what I'm thinking. If it breaks through that, then it can go bat-ish or whatever you want to call it, parabolic. Just throw in whatever adjective you like. So it's just a day one play. On a day one setup, I suppose there could be some kind of a trade in here off 130. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I really wish I could have seen this $1 level. Like that's the one. Like right in here when it's retesting a buck, like you're getting 5% risk, call it 7% at worst, try and jump in off the $1 level, and then get a hero home run trade. Not a great setup in here. Generally speaking, if you're looking for the R&R, at this time of day as a day trader, you got to be out by the end of the day. So you're trying to really tight stop trade to try to get back to the high of the day, which I don't love. If it goes big dip, maybe without a halt, you could try to grab a 105, something in there. But not really seeing anything till tomorrow for me on that type of a trade there on PBLA. But a great look. I mean, if I saw this earlier, I don't know why it didn't pop on my scanner. Maybe it did and I just missed it. But that dollar level is always one I like. I thought Nikola was going to be the dollar stock today. Unfortunately, it just wasn't. Going back over to AMD, it is still trying to break down. I think 138 quarter is going to make the most sense here. VWAP for an out, then previous support for an out on AMD. Intel similar trade, but I'd like to see us start flushing a little bit better. The NASDAQ just doesn't seem to want to re-break these highs. Let me just get back on over. Maybe we can put a fork in the 17,000 talk, at least temporarily. We got pretty darn close, strong move, but we're not really seeing that push. And I don't know what's going to take us there. NVIDIA started to slow down and got to 503 resistance. You've already talked about Apple, Microsoft, not necessarily pressing those highs at this moment. So I don't know what's going to take us there. Meta's also slowed down as well. NQ is just the NASDAQ futures, Fort Lee, New Jersey, and much more, asking about that in the chat. Yeah, as long as we're off these resistance levels, I want to play some of these short scalps and see if we can't get a few of them to work out. Going into the final hour of the day. So it's all about finding some trades. You don't want to overtrade at this time of day. Just try to pick what are, I guess, the highest probability setups. That's why I don't really love that PBLA at all.
Yeah, I think, who's this in the chat? Were you reading Eric Filkins saying his account is up 89% on PBLA today? That's pretty awesome. Congratulations there. And okay, so what was I looking at? There was another name that I saw and I wanted to pull up here. Oh right, Frank Jones talking about BABA has been in a downtrend for a long time. So let's take a quick look at BABA and see what Frank Jones is talking about here today. Okay, yeah, Frank Jones, definitely. I got some levels marked here, man. That 319 level on BABA. Now, I don't know if these are split adjusted prices, but we were trading at this level in 2020, November 2020, and we've only been, oh, you know what? I actually remember this because me and a couple buddies, we were talking about how a lot of these ADRs are continuing to run. This was early 2020 and into 2021, and I was like, hey guys, this is a little extended here. These are ADRs. You might wanna watch the risk when we start breaking some of these euphoric trends here. And yeah, I haven't really taken a serious look back at it since, but definitely some backside action here after that 300 broke down, and then the trend break here at that 240. So definitely Frank Jones coming in quite hot on the backside, off of that 300 fail, and then a bit of a consolidation I have marked here from that 81 to that 119, and we're pushing the lows of that consolidation. So haven't really hit the full out low here. Is this all-time lows? Yeah, we hit all-time lows a few weeks ago, it would seem, or a couple months ago in November. Bounce off of this 57, it would seem. Was it 58? So all-time lows are 57.20, 58s are these lows, and we're pretty much right there, give or take about 10, 20 points. So we have been coming off of quite a strong downtrend, and it seems like we're continuing that downtrend. Bit of consolidation break here. Again, this is the weekly chart, right? So there's a weekly chart. Overall trend is very, very clear in that sense, but it seems like we are going a little bit sideways in and around this 119 to this 81. But the fact that we've broken below that range as of right now, I think a decent level that I'm waiting for, again, I have it marked on my chart here for a reason, is if we can kind of come back in to this 81 and then show some resistance underneath this consolidation, this multi-month consolidation that we've been having between this, what is this, 20, 40 point range on BABA. But yeah, definitely astute observation by Frank Jones. BABA in a very significant downtrend since those highs there, Neil. This thing coming off of that 300 quite aggressively.
Yeah, that's a crazy. I mean, Alibaba, we said this before, over and over. Every time Alibaba comes up, I do it in part to remind myself this. Just look at the chart of Pinduoduo.
Ah, yes.
Just anytime you can think whatever you want, but the ball don't lie and the price don't lie. Price doesn't lie either. I can say, price don't lie. Price don't lie. I mean, if you come to the chart for a second, Ram, this is PDD on the daily.
Wow.
And you've seen Alibaba. Okay, so Temu, great, taking aim at Amazon. Like, what do you need? Like, that is an upward trend. It hasn't really made that next breakout, but like, what do you think's happening next year? I mean, you can probably look for fades off 150, but at some point, this thing makes the break at 150. I'm going to probably go for it. It's not going to be today because Chinese ADRs do nothing in the afternoon, so it's going to, dollar says it closes between 148 and 148.50, so if you can find a trade there, congratulations to you. But one day we're going to get that 150 break. SMCI just continues to run. Frank Jones, I hear you. It's like they're in your head some days. Yeah. Oh, it's so true. I just want to get back over to Tesla here. Not much. I tried the break this morning. Tried the long, thinking we'd see continuation in the 260. Tesla had other plans, man. So I didn't reverse into the short till it failed just now underneath some morning support. So we're short 253.17. It just doesn't seem to want to make that big quadrunk flush that we're used to seeing. Alan's saying, look at the coin. My goodness, coin 155. That could be something. So I'd almost like this to false break at this point in the day, because you're either already in this short. Yeah, like you're probably already in this one off that retracement into 55, like you might have grabbed 70s and 80s in that trade, or just false break the high of the day and then come back down in. Rob asking to look at Chris, CCCC.
Oh, C4.
I keep saying that it's C4. I keep calling this thing like, I just keep saying C until I figure I've got it right. But C4, nothing really. I mean, it just had a retrace this morning, kind of broke a support level, right? So here it is, breaking support, found a triple bottom at $4. So I guess it found an even dollar level to bounce from, and then it goes right back in and then failed that previous support area. Well, we just turn around at that previous support area, and then not much else happening. So I don't think, if there's news on it, I'm not aware of it, didn't really check it out. Just looked like it was a false flat bottom break there and continuation into the even dollar at 4. But I'm going back to AMD because looks over, it's at 139 again.
So go back to that CCC there for a second, Neil. C4. I got a question for you. You said you've traded small caps before. You've traded these similar kind of names before. This little pop and drop here on the intraday.
Shut them down, open up shop.
Right? Yes. So the pop and drop off of that five mark there, kind of looking a little distinct on the daily. Would you say? Or okay, let me rephrase this question. What do you think is the likelihood that this is the backside?
I don't know. I'll give, like Captain Ramius in Hunt for Red October when I'm just making up a number, 1 chance in 3. I don't know, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Like I look at that. Okay, let's just go. Hold on a second. Wanted to reload on. So AMD just got to 139 again. So that's here. It got to 138.99 as it was coming back in. I just grabbed 95s in there. So I'm looking to just kind of recreate that trade. I'm risking less than 10 cents on that trade. So let me just get my first bid in there. I have a level 2 up there, and now I'll get to 4C, which is C4. So I generally always think it's the back end. Right, like I mean, $4 is obvious for a lot of reasons why I probably bounced there the first time. But parabolic mover off the dollar level, so it's just a dollar hold breakout style trade. It already reversed, kind of at a reasonable level, like the $8. Maybe you like to get to like 9 or 10 before it pulled back. But once it starts pulling back, I might get to short till it's not. So the first thing it did, it made the failure to $8. Okay, great. And then it holds $5, and it just failed the $5 support. So unless it's back above $5, I don't know why I would think it's anything but a short. $4 gave you a nice bounce trade today, but I'd almost be thinking, why not short it if it gets back underneath the 5 level? Now, I wasn't watching the stock, so I couldn't trade it there. And for anyone, when I started out, I was a penny stock trader, like back in 2003, 2004. Like the first stocks I made money on were penny stocks. This would just be a small capper. It's not really a penny stock, but a lot of the behavior ends up being the same. And when one of these things makes a relief rally, which to me the dollar hold is a relief rally, once it turns, I'm thinking turn until I have a really good reason to think not. Because generally speaking, you're a penny stock for a reason. Small cap for a reason. Yeah. When Mullen reverse splits, I'm not getting cute about it. I'm thinking about short when Mullen reverse splits. You know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm going to be looking for shorts when that happens. And why do you ask? Would I say that? Says person who loves Mullen. I'm sure there's somebody out there. Because what else are you going to look to do? Like if you're not thinking short Mullen on a reverse split, then basically you're looking at all of the price history and what has worked in the past, and you're just ignoring it. Like it reverse splits, it tries to go, and then it dumps. And it's a short until it's not. And today, that was 10 cents. That's where it wasn't a short anymore. It was at 10 cents. Now, it'll make some other bottoms in here on the reverse splits, and it'll have bounces. But when it does reverse split, and one of these days you're going to get your face ripped off, it's going to happen. But just for the first couple of days, you're looking for short entries on that stock. It's just how I'm going to trade every single time. There goes AMD through that 139, so that's a pretty tight stop. The third time is not a charm on AMD. The second time was better than the first, but the third time will take the 7-cent hit, like I said. I actually said it would be 6, and then it was 7 just now on AMD. So that one's gone. Still into Intel, and you know why? Any guesses what took the high of the day just now?
NVIDIA.
You guessed right.
That'll do it.
NVIDIA through the high of the day. So you go back to the well on the weak stock, but eventually the rising tide lifts all ships. The question is it less than Tesla? Tesla doesn't care.
Yeah, the NQ kind of pushing up as well.
It's weird because Tesla's breaking. Not to interrupt, but like what's weird about this is Tesla is breaking channel today. Like it's closed. It's gonna probably close breaking out of this channel on the upside. So I still do think, in a greater sense, I'm looking for an eventual explosive move on Tesla, but you can't ignore how weak it is on Tesla. So William Knight, when you say you're risking less than 10 cents, yes, that means from the entry point. Everything is about R&R. Because everyone's trading a little bit different. Some people are day trading, some people are swing trading. The only thing that actually matters in trading, what is your entry, what is your exit? Like that at the end of the day. Everything else is just based on how much liquidity there is in the stock. The only time you really, really care is if you're trading something where there's limited liquidity, or you're trying to do more size than there is liquidity in the market. Then it really matters. And when you're trading AMD, no one on this floor is going to be trading that much liquidity on an AMD. Most people wouldn't. If you're trading some kind of 1 million float stock, then you have to worry about like what can you actually see on level 2, what can you execute. Everywhere else is going to be plenty of liquidity. So Tesla doing its own thing. I still like it above 250, kind of in the longer time frame, but for the afternoon trade, it was just a failure at the previous low of the day, turning into resistance.
Good. Thank you, Neil. Yeah, no, I was just curious of what potentially dictates a backside there, and yeah, I think holding underneath that 5 could be something as well. We talk about, I think you said it really well. It's a penny stock for a reason. It's a small cap for a reason, and yeah, sometimes those reasons can be overlooked for a little bit, but those overall reasons kind of come back into play eventually.
Just so I don't know anything about C4. I don't know the company. I'm sure it's a very explosive stock.
Nice.
I'll do it myself. There we go. Every now and then. Every now and then. I didn't say it once. I had to throw that one in there. DJK just says, Tesla, only 80 times forward earnings. We had that conversation earlier about why sometimes you can't care too much about like PE. It's not the be-all, end-all, but I understand that. But in the traditional sense, Tesla can be overvalued. In a traditional sense, you would have said the same thing about NVIDIA 100% ago. You'd say the same thing about ARM, and you'd say the same thing about Palo Alto and CrowdStrike, and I'm just listing all the strongest things out there that have been running in the market. That's just how it works. You would never have invested in Amazon. Like it doesn't always work that way. But then that's investing, not trading.
Yeah, I think a good way to kind of look at that is if you're going to be using, I guess, PEs or other fundamentals, is kind of run the back test, right? Run the back test to see if over time whether or not that factor actually plays a part in the price action.
Well, you can look at a historical PE chart on the stock.
Yeah. And it's like you can even go back to some of the market leaders right now who do have decent PEs to see what their journey was to get into that. Again, take any of the Mag 7, to their journey to get up into that into that rank, right? It's not going to be a clean path. Right, all of these companies have they go through a lot of struggles, a lot of issues, not really profitable initially, and that's like every business, right? No businesses, well, not a lot of businesses are just going to pull up and be profitable right off the bat, and you can't really expect that to happen. And I think Neil says it right there. If you're looking at like value investing or like investing in general, you want to find undervalued names more often than not. Their PE is not going to really reflect the true value that the company might hold. So,
and if you look, the hyper growth names, they're going to be overvalued sometimes for the best times to buy them. A lot of that just ends up being true. And the value stocks are going to, like, sometimes it'll look cheap, and then there's value traps. Like, you'll have a stock which has a fantastic PE, but is a heaping pile of you know what.
we got a little bit of everything over the past couple of years.
Well,
right.
If you look at, and I say this I own Ford, so. While we're on the subject, Ford has been, I mean, sometimes the PE on Ford and GM has been a value trap. Now it's been great. The recent bottom and getting back above $11, I think it could see 13. It just actually rejected the 200 period moving average. That's not the greatest thing in the world. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's not a great look for Ford today. Why did I pull this chart up? See, this is why you don't want to, sometimes you don't want to look at stuff in your long-term chart. Because you could say you could see this and be like, hey, it's accumulating off 12, next level to the upside. Or you could look at it saying, that's rejecting the 200 period moving average and accumulating underneath it, it's going to drop back into 11. So you kind of, if you're bullish or bearish, it's going to tell the story for Ford. Man, that doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. But NVIDIA looks fantastic. So what I'm going to do here, market at the high, Tesla, oh yeah, great. Now there's this algo buyer in the 70s. Get out. So anyways, just before, I punched out a Tesla, I'm going to tell you why. So Tesla was trying to break back into the low of the day, failed to get past 250, 250, and then above 250, 250, there was like a stacked algo-ish looking buyer in the mid-70s. So I just punched out of the stock, market's at the high of the day, and it looks like it was trying to, I don't know, whether it's fugazi, but it looked like it was failing a higher low and trying to press higher. So I just jumped out of that trade. Luke is saying, how do you find interesting stocks to look for tomorrow? Generally speaking, I have a quote board of names that I'm already looking at. I'll look at unusual volume. I have scanners on trade ideas so that I can, let me just quickly show you my trade ideas second page here. I'll have some of these. I'll have the gappers from the morning. I can run the race. I can look at the high of the day Momo traders. And then I'm looking at things on my watch list that are doing unusual volume. I'll get an assist from people in the chat that'll tell me stocks that are doing big moves. Like Rivian is 1,000% on my list after watching what this is doing in the afternoon. No questions asked. Rivian's going to be on the watch tomorrow. That said, I have the day off tomorrow, so I'll be at home getting some stuff done. Obviously, it's going into Christmas, so I had a couple of days off the next couple of days. But I would start with what are the things breaking out key levels. Rivian is a great example into new price territory. Micron doesn't report yet. I think we have some earnings this week, like BlackBerry reports this week. That'll be one worth watching. I certainly will be looking right back on over to NIO for a bit of a continuation. Let's see if it can press back into the $9 level. Oh, here's an easy one for you, SoFi. SoFi's on watch because SoFi, since it broke last level, broke the $9, look at the 980 top. What did it do? Press right into the 980 top. So what are we thinking tomorrow? It can one of two ways. It could fail that high, give you a huge move back into 9, which I think where it would go, or it can break out that top. You're trading off the 9 to 915 level. You're looking for it to take out the high and continue to go. Another stock with the consolidation off a channel break. Not that complicated to set up. There's your channel down, lower highs, lower lows, broke the channel, held $8, broke out. Now it seems to want 10. Was that on the chart when I said all that? Okay, so there you go. So channel down, lower highs, lower lows. We've probably talked about SoFi a million times. Anybody that watches this program knows Sean and I, candidly speaking, we both own shares of SoFi. But it broke the channel, consolidated, held $8 clean, and then broke out the top. And look what it does after that. So you like that channel break. That's what's weird about Tesla. Tesla's doing the same thing. Similar channel break, and it's just early into the move. It hasn't really taken the lid off since it held this channel above 250. So the lower highs is broken with this recent close on Friday, and all it has to do now is break out the top at 255. That's what it's all about. Lucas, how do you find the newest news? We have Benzinga service here that we listen to. We also have Icon Terminal. We have all kinds of resources that we use, Benzinga being the primary one here. And if you want breaking news, tune in. We have a free watch list every single day. That's what we're all about. Like, we know it's not easy to trade. The other place you can watch, the market recap. We're going to talk about, when we do the market recap, we're going to go over like the ETFs and the sectors that were relatively strong and weak. You're going to find some names that way. It's all about what is moving and why. That's why we come up with our free watch list every single day so you have an idea of what we're looking at. And then we have a great community out here, which I think is the best one. It's the best trading community out there because we just try to keep it real. We're not pumping stocks here. We're not trying to be flashy about anything. It's just about what are we looking at as traders and how are we going to get better every single day. So as people talking about PBLA, so you get some small cap ones. You got NVIDIA, which is obviously on most people's watch lists on a daily basis. SMCI, maybe a sympathy run to the upside there. Pavel saying, what are your thoughts on CFA? I never did it. I thought about taking the CFA. We've had traders on the floor that have done it before. But the weird thing happened to me. Like when I started trading in 03, my pop said, how long do you think you'll do this? I'm like, I don't know. I'll probably if I'm lucky, I'll make money for a couple of years, then get a job, maybe do something else at like a bank, like use my economics degree somewhere else. But it didn't happen. Trading worked out. And so I'm still doing it. And you get lucky. Sometimes it's timing. You can have some luck early on when you're building a bankroll and trading. I think I had that going for me as well. I always saved so that when you go into a slump, it didn't really matter. That's very, very important.
Huge.
Very important when you're starting out trading. So I never had to do the CFA. It probably would have made a lot of sense. Like I shouldn't be sitting here saying, yeah, don't have something to fall back on. That's probably not the right thing to say. But I didn't end up doing mine because I didn't have to. And if you weren't talking about the CFA, then maybe that's a stock. I don't think it is. I'm assuming you're talking about the CFA.
Super hard exam.
It is a difficult
from
exam.
what I've been hearing. Yeah.
It's a difficult exam.
It's, I think Mateo in the back. He was part of my class as well. Before he left the floor to go to the back office, he's working on his right now as well. So
which level 2?
I think he's on his level 2.
Level 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I talked to him about it. So the CFA is like 3 levels: 1, 2, and 3. I think from memory serves, like 1 and 2 you get past that, and 3.
I've heard all of them are pretty difficult to kind of get. Was it the rate is like 20-30%.
Yeah, 20-30%.
20-30%.
It's not. So I've heard like in the States, like the Series 7 isn't that bad. It's not the same thing. Like Series 7 is like a trading thing. CFA is like a financial analyst.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we have trader qualifications as well, right? Like if you want to be I think it's your was it the trader training certification, and if you want to trade for like banks and stuff as well, you have to have that done.
I wouldn't say probably not as involved as a Series 7 South. But just a couple. There was a question, and Skybear just asked, "Where can I see your watch list, and what do you think about Nio?" So in a couple of seconds, can we just flash the watch list thing because we just got a question about it? Bears versus Bulls will be all over that. So Sean has a sticky note. I put a note out in the mornings as well. Call it the mix, and then you can just check out our watch list there. Scan the QR code below. You get our free watch list every single day. Adair does a fantastic job putting it together. All of us that are sitting here early, like we'll give our thoughts every now and then. But as I say that, this is a perfect opportunity because, well, mostly because Ramin just said it in my ear, to drop and remind everybody. I'm going to start at the bottom here. If you are interested in trading at Day Trade the World, this prop floor and on this platform, the campus program is currently accepting applications for a January 2nd start date. So right in the beginning of the new year, not wasting any time. So you want to get those applications in now. What is the campus program? Well, I'm about to tell you. First off, it's free. FREE, free 99, everybody's favorite price in the world. It is your opportunity to trade real money, gain real experience. It is a structured program where you start with a market introduction, platform introduction, that's peak per weight, what we trade on right here every single day live on this prop floor and all the ones that are like it. You can then jump into the simulator phase 3. It is a fantastic sim mode. They put a lot of effort into this sim, so it's very much like trading the real markets, especially in the New York and the NASDAQ. It trades other markets in simulation, but those primaries are definitely the best ones in the sim. You're going to be in there for multiple weeks. I think it's about 4+ weeks in the sim, still getting one-on-one coaching all the way through, and you get a certificate at the end, and the opportunity to trade live. That's what the nuts and bolts of it. You want to get trading live, trade real money, earn real money. You still have one-on-one coaching. Here, you have the opportunity at the end of it to become a funded trader, and again, it is free. It's about putting the time and effort in, passing all of the requirements. You do have to be in Canada. Unfortunately, a Day Trade the World does not operate in the United States. It'd be nice, maybe at some point that can happen in the future, but right now you do have to be in Canada. So do you have what it takes? Passion for the markets, willingness to learn, and the ability to put in the time and effort. 16 hours a week so you can have a part-time gig if you want to while doing it. I think it's a fantastic one, so apply there. You can check that QR code below. Again, it is free. We get a lot of questions about this. It's free. Everyone else is trying to sell you something. I'm not here to hype anything. I'm not trying to sell anything. At Day Trade the World, you got to make money to make money. And that's the name of the game. I've been in, and that's the thing about a prop floor. That the prop floor wants you to succeed because you are trading the firm's capital. You're trying to earn the opportunity to trade the firm's capital. Keyword being earn. It doesn't make it easy, but it does make it pretty darn cool if you get that privilege. I tend to think it's pretty cool. But it's 338, by the way.
Yep.
So a couple of things. One, you know what?
The inbound look, the early.
Okay, first of all, who's that idiot that said get out of Tesla because there was an algo buyer in there? I don't know who that guy was. Can we just fire that? Who's that? Who is it? I don't know. You know what? It must have been Sharif. Because whoever that guy was, you've been had. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. All that good stuff. That was me. So obviously Tesla was a good short. Yeah, that kind of
bit of a pullback happening here on the markets as well, right? We attempted that 17 all day, Neil.
Had the short.
You had it.
Had the
Okay, and then okay. I mean, no, that's not a bad place to cover it.
That's the one I missed. Short smeller. Run amok.
Short smeller.
You ever seen Malcolm X?
No.
Okay, first of all, we have to have a conversation. You got to watch Malcolm X.
Okay.
That's one of the big lines.
I think with all the movies,
you've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. Run amok. It's a great little thing.
We gotta have Friday night, or one of the weekdays, movie nights, because with the amount of movies I've missed, and you guys keep telling me oh, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch that. I think that might be
Start
a little.
with, I mean, if you haven't seen Boiler Room, you got to watch that as a trader. If you haven't seen Rogue Trader, you got to watch that. If you've never seen Rounders, I think watching Rounders is a must for any trader out there. What else? What are the most important movies for a trader? I think I said a few of them.
I mentioned like a documentary last week, but it's like Floored. Have you heard of that?
Oh
one?
yeah, I know Floored.
Yeah, Floored.
Yeah, that's Floored. Oh,
solid.
Floored's a great one because that's the
Solid
one
for
they
prop
talked about.
traders.
A lot of the traders that failed when they went.
Digital.
Yeah, when they went digital.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
What
a
it
lot of
takes.
these transitions. It was hard. One of the craziest ones was most people wouldn't know this, but when the NYSE went from like the floor brokers to just like the hybrid model. Like when the floor controlled, like the brokers and the specialists controlled the stock, and that was some wild stuff, man.
What?
Like trading when there was like one book that mattered and the rest didn't, and all you cared about was the specialist. That was wild. I traded it a bit. We had one guy on the floor who like that was his real shtick. And you'd sit there like, oh, he's holding my order. And it was wild, because you'd see it happen. Like, the stock would be going down. Like, can we come to level 2? It's 341, 1.5 billion to buy. Trading Place is another one. But let me pull up
I've heard of that one, yeah.
like Nio, because I'm gonna punch out of this stock soon. But like, you have the NYSE book here. Like, imagine a scenario where all these books, NYSE's at 838, is just chilling out. And then all of a sudden, you'd see like the NYSE disappear from the level. Okay. Or drop to 1. He'd drop from like a 10,000 shares to like 1. And he'd go from 838 to like 825. What do you think's about to happen?
Oh boy.
You've been had.
Yeah.
And like the stock's going down at that point. So like at that moment, like if you're long, you're just trying to find an execution out. And if you can find a lagging ECN, you'd just be hitting everything you could find short. If you could find 36s, 37s, you'd be trying to go short because he just pulled back and said liquidity's back at 825. Now every now and then he'd be pulling a fast one and he'd do that down to 1 to 825 and then it would just come right back up. But most of the time, if you found a lagging gateway, you could punch short at 35. When he opens it back up on the primary gateway at 25, he just had a free 10 cents. And so we had a guy that sat on the floor that just did that all day long.
That's wild.
He just sat there on a group of stocks waiting for the specialist to do dumb stuff or moves like that. And then he would just trade that. He'd trade those little mini ARBs. The problem with that was if that's all you did, what do you think happens when that game is gone?
You got to have a little bit wider of a range, right? I think, but that's pretty solid. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it was wild.
And they say you've gamified the market now, right? Like, come on, no, this type of trading has been existing for a while there. The magnitude and maybe the style might be different.
It was a wild way to try to trade. And the weird thing about
this was after decimalization?
It was after decimalization, okay. But they always had the floor special, but the hybrid came after decimalization, like that was much later. But if you were a trader, you actually didn't like that, because if you were trading like technically or a stock would just be trending, and then all of a sudden the specialist would just be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, by the way,
yeah, okay,
you just sent me an order for 1,000 shares. Nah, I'm just hold on to that for a second. You want to send that buy order at 85? Oh, hold on to that for a second. Oh, see what's happening in a minute? We're going to open at 75 now. We're just going to do holding your order for a couple minutes. We're just going to open it back up lower. Sorry, buddy. It's just nasty what they used to do. But I just grabbed out of Nio because it's not doing anything. At least we hung on to the Intel short because Tesla.
Yeah,
as I said, I got bamboozled out of Tesla. But I'll show you where I want out of Intel right here. So 54.70, that's just a dark pool wick in here, but 54.70, I don't know what else to tell you, but at 1 o'clock, there's not a good way to point this out other than to say, on the higher low, there were buyers at 45.70. And when you describe it on the tape, like imagine a stock just slowly falling underneath VWAP, and then all of a sudden at the 70 level, you just had a refresher, and then you had what I'd just say obvious buying on the tape. I wish I could tell you I went long, got out, and then resumed the short at the 46 level. So at 45.70, I am just assuming that is the level because there was buyers in there before. It's 3:54 in about 10 minutes. I'm going to make my way up to the desk for the market recap. I don't see myself putting on anything new, But we got to go and handle some business at the desk. Sorry, Ram.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Yep.
Shout out to Frank Caberna, who will be on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday, so I happen to know that for a fact.
You said we got Michael Nos tonight?
We got the Nos boss on the market recap show tonight. He's locked and loaded. I mean, he always drops some knowledge. So if you don't watch the mornings and Mondays and Fridays, Michael comes on. He's going to be talking. He's a straight up swing trader, right? So we day trade in and out, intraday. He's a pure swing trader. So you get the higher time frame look. He has great market knowledge as well. So great dude. He's fantastic. And as I said, Frank will be on to talk a little bit about what. It gives a higher look. We get Frank on in the afternoons, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then he's going to drop knowledge on where rates are going, where he thinks rates are going, talk a little currencies as well. Just the kind of things that, like, I'm not an expert on those. I mean, I got an economics degree. Be darned if I use it other than to argue with my dad every now and then, which it gives me a leg up because he's an engineer. So, like, he's a smart dude, but he doesn't really... like I'll at least fundamentally know what I'm talking about when we argue about the economy. I see Patrick laughing back there too. Well, but it's true. Like he's like, you got your degree so you can argue with your dad. That's pretty much it. And to meet some really cool people. I met cool people in university.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely
learn how to learn in university.
That's a big one, Nio. Again, we talk about. I've gone through a decent amount of school. And not really using any of those degrees per se in terms of like actual application, but in terms of experience, in terms of learning how to learn, and even learning. Again, if anybody asks me what is the most valuable thing that you can take out of your like 8+ years of school. And I'm like, you learn. The biggest thing that you can derive is learning how to learn, and I guess learning a lot about how like you like to learn specifically, as well, right?
And the Century Club was a lot of fun the 3 times I did it too. That's the other thing. But okay. So first of all, the Century Club it's dangerous, it's unsafe, and I in no way am advocating anybody try it. Same thing with the Cocoa Challenge or the Cinnamon Challenge. It's incredibly irresponsible, and absolutely nobody should do those kinds of things. I'm kind of serious about that, half serious. But a couple of things here. I just want to remind everybody, thank you, Ram. If you're checking out the Market Recap show, we are streaming it. Obviously, you can stick around here, and it's going to be live. But we are also streaming it live on X. And I'm saying X, and I'm going to continue to say X. I'm the kind of person that's always said Twitter, but now that U.S. Steel is being bought cash, and within 1 year is going to be off the market, I fully expect you, Elon, to be eventually, when you've turned the company around and it's profitable again, I expect X to come back to the market as Twitter, and it'll be tradable again, so that when we actually have news on it, we can trade X. It was a heck of a lot of fun to trade that name. But it's 348.
You're talking about Twitter, right?
Yes.
Yes. No, that was a decent.
Well, I thought it was pretty obvious, but I guess it wasn't. But I'm getting out on the bid here of Intel. It just got to that 75. So there's your previous support. This is it right at 350. I'm going to take the you-know-what and run. K-Deb said Mara at 20. Retest. Yeah, no thanks. And my style of trade, I don't mind rinsing and repeating a level. Like, I will short something and stop out and then jump back up when it sets up again. But, yeah, I'm not, like this one, that would have worked. The first time it got to 20, so loss. First time it got to 20, that would have worked. Could have shorted it. But it went to 09s to come back in. You short 99s with an 11-cent stop. It goes to 83. That's not that good. That's really not even a win. Because you have to, for whatever reason, like you'd have to short that back through and get it all out here for it to be any good. You can't be holding on for more because then all of a sudden you're not even in the money anymore. It just didn't move enough. So I got away from that when it didn't look that good. Shout out to everyone that went long on this stock today because that was the way that you need to go. Speaking of, NVIDIA pulling right back now. So back into 501. I just realized I had some orders, some stop orders still out there too. So I'm flat now, just got to that last Intel position. It wasn't a huge flush, but it was arrows down for that. In 30 seconds, we're going to get the imbalances. It was a 1.5 billion buy, but nothing really stood up. I mean, Nio, that's kind of from this morning. And then you had GM as an early look. I mean, Pfizer is an early look sell. That's not very exciting either. Like, none of these names are exciting to give an indication of why a 1.5 billion buy is coming. And again, these are just early looks on the New York. Nothing really stood out. You're going to get the update in now. So you're going to start to see this populate. Go EV, that's a penny stock, doesn't really matter. I mean, Nio hasn't really updated. Yeah, this is pretty slow. It should start, you'd think it would start to stream in a bit better than this. CD out there, so not a heck of a lot. SoFi, 1.2 million to sell on SoFi. That's not the best. What else we got going on here? Pacific Biosciences, 800,000 to.
GOEV up there.
Yeah, but GoEV is like a 25-cent stock. So it's not really...
is it? Wow, I haven't looked at it for a while then.
Yeah, GoEV, 27 cents. Okay. 7 million to sell. Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's not. It's nothing too crazy there.
That's 10% of the day's volume, but that's not. Oh, I just pull up the warrants accidentally there. There we go. Yeah, not too big, not much of a move. It was already coming down anyways.
Yeah, so I kind of
trade there.
I held my short on Softy through that. I covered some of it again, kind of that 373 level. If you guys have been watching, covered some of it going into the inbound, and I had my stop in, and I'm like, all right, well, we're at a little bit of a resistance. Market's running up all the way. Sure, we have a little bit of a buy imbalance as well, but being about 40 pennies in the money, I throw on the stop and kind of let it cook for the most part there. But we're pretty much holding, and I'm looking at Softy's inbound here. Nothing too significant, right? Nothing too crazy here. If I can actually find it, it's not at the top of the list is what I'm pointing out here. 72 halves kind of testing haven't really gone anywhere. We've been consolidating in this range for quite a while there, and here comes some buying as I say that into this 373. So
before I get out of here,
yes,
I have to point. Remember when I had that conversation with you about Lucid and Nikola and like low-hanging fruit?
Okay.
Nikola, if you're a day trader, this is low-hanging fruit. On Friday, failed 98 cents trying to get to $1 today. Now, maybe you don't get that trade. I didn't. But look at the flat bottom breaks. So it breaks the support from Friday. That's 87 cents at the low. What happens when this stock breaks the bottom range of the open? So 89 cents, right to 87, fails Friday's high. This is Friday, just sits there.
Consolidation.
You can literally short 86.5. You're risking half a cent to 1 cent. Falls into 85. Look what happens when it breaks 85. Another push down. Those are easy trades, man. You get like 3-4% moves, risking 0.5% on those stocks. Like when it's doing this, and that's a fail for me because I wasn't watching that stock. That is what you're looking for sometimes.
And it's doing more than enough volume.
174 million shares in volume.
Even though it's a sub-dollar ticker, like that's.
This is what the level 2 looks like on Nikola. Right, like when you get to the even dollars, look at the 82.
Damn, that's
100,000 on a single gateway.
Yeah.
Like that's not rocket science, right? Like now, granted, at Day Trade the World, we have to pay. I think it's a quarter for. I actually don't remember. It was 1/8 of 1 cent per share to short Nikola. But you can then use those shares as many times as you want. So like if you pay for 10,000 shares or 100,000 shares, you can go short 10,000 here and then short again. You just have to cover. You can use it as many times as you want up to the amount that you paid for. But once it fails $1, you pay for the shorts and then don't look back. Look for every opportunity to get short. Look at the flat bottom break. That is an easy setup. The ex-CEO got sentenced today, Tobbs.
Oh, is that what it was?
Did he really? He's still rich.
He's ex-CEO. Like, how is that?
Trevor Milton's still rich. He got paid, so he got to keep a bunch of that money too. So.
Oh, okay. For deceptions on zero emission trucks. Okay, I guess he's in jail for rolling a truck down a hill.
And now the stock price is rolling down the hill. That's not rolling down the hill. This stock is like tumbling down into the abyss. And you know what? The sad thing is, like, I'm not rooting against any EV stock. I don't care. Like, you're rooting
EVs
for
the future.
Some of them are going to fail, but I'm not rooting against any of them. Like, you want them to all work. Like, if I ever talk about like even if a biofarm stock is like pumping and dumping or whatnot, like if they've got some long shot, cancer, like you kind of want it to work. A trader just trades.
Yeah.
It's not, you have to just sort of trade it. Like I don't think ill of this stock. I'm not going to probably have anything good things to say about Trevor Milton, but yeah, I'm not going to sit there and say that I hate Nikola.
I think.
Oh, by the way, just to remind everybody, if you haven't checked out the podcast that dropped on Saturday, check it out. We talked a little bit of Tesla. We talked a little bit about rates. We talked about the Fed. We talked about AI. It was a good one. This week, I think we have Sharif on.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, some solid topics to look out for again. And you guys are releasing the podcast on Saturdays, is that correct?
Saturday morning.
Okay.
Wherever you can find podcasts. And
So every week, Saturday.
if there's somewhere that we're not releasing it, then just tell us, and then what I will do is we just tell Brendan, and then Brendan takes care of it.
I think that's pretty solid. Bit of a sell-off coming into the close here on the NQs and Google. Not as much softy, but that 136 coming in real hot there on Google. Didn't stop out, but punched out of softy. The stop was much higher there, but when it rips right back up, I was looking for the 40s to come in. Again, market kind of quadunking, selling off a little bit, and I'm like, all right, let's see whether or not these imbalances come in anything significant. Nothing too significant, and softy just chills within its range, but that aggressive pull back up into 70s. Not the best, I guess, for me to get chopped up on that. I had my stop much higher than this, so I gotta reassess that a little bit there. But with the market pulling back off a little bit, cooling down, I think it's a decent end to a very, very strong day there, Neil. So.
I'm just going to I'm going to head up onto the desk. We got the market recap show as normal in a couple of minutes. We'll let Obi take you out of here. By the way, go Bills, you know what's up. Tonight, I need a miracle. Maybe we'll talk about it in the market recap show. I need a miracle in one of my fantasy leagues. It's just flat out not going to happen unless Geno Smith plays like 5 minutes of the game. But we'll talk about that in the recap. I'll see you guys at the desk.
All right. Thank you, Neil. Again, thank you. Thank you, Neil, for again all the wisdom and the gold that you drop. Again, it's an honor to sit beside an experienced trader all day here, and I hope you guys are catching that value as well. Take a look at this shake and bake happening on Softy. Gets stopped out into the push, comes right back into the 40s. Oh boy, all right. I see you there. But Apple pulling back as well. Some of these other names pulling back pretty solid as well. Let me know in the chat what you guys have traded today, as today was a very strong trending day to the upside for a lot of names. And you would have been pretty nice if you found anywhere along the way. You saw that kind of consolidation hold in the morning of the NQs. You kind of pop and drop, 16.9 holds there, and then you got that nice and steady continuation for a potential 17,000 coming in on the NQ going forward. So this week is definitely going to be a little spicy for sure, in my opinion. So I'll definitely be on watch for that 17,000 coming in. We're only about 20 points away from that now. So, we talk about some of these levels being so good that you won't even get them in the open market time. I'm curious to know whether or not we will be doing some gapping up or gapping down off of that level going forward. But it seems like a little bit of a pullback is coming in today, with only about a minute and 45 seconds left on the day. We got nothing else here. I am closed shop for the day as I got out of my softy short there. Again, not really trading with the trend, but when we slow down in and around where I have a bit of a key level on the multi-time frame, I do want to try this short a little bit there. Too aggressive on the shorts here initially on the Google. Why am I shorting above 134? That's something key to kind of note down. 133.60s was a bit of a level as well from before. So now with only about we've got a minute and 10. All right, I'm a little too early there. All right, I was like, I gotta jump for the countdown already. Yes, Mr. Westermeyer again blessing us with his presence here today on the bell, and that is an empty seat, but yeah, so on the bell here today, with only about 40 seconds left. Thank you again for spending your time with us. Hopefully you got some value out of what we do here. Again, thank you to everybody who makes this show possible. And again, with only about 30 seconds, I keep thinking I'm talking for too long there, and got about 30 seconds left. So I'd like to know. I'm gonna be reading the chat afterwards to see what you guys have traded. So let me know, and we can potentially take a look as well tomorrow. But now, with only about 20 seconds left, with the closing bell, again, don't go anywhere, because right after the bell, in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Westermeyer, for the bell, and again, thanks for coming all the way down. He's saying he was 1,000 kilometers. Sorry, 1,000 miles, so even more, on a road trip, came down to visit us in Toronto. So thank you for that, and again, thank you for spending your time with us. But without any further ado, don't go anywhere. Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay, so don't go anywhere, because the market recap is on with Neil right now. Take care, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
We were literally just having an argument about the conversion from miles to kilometers. Fabian's like, no, 2.2. I'm like, no, that's pounds to kilograms. So 1.6. So yeah, you guys do the math there. Thank you very much. I just heard myself there for a second. Thank you guys very much for joining the market recap. Thank you to Daniel, Mr. Westermeyer, one of our longtime viewers, ringing the opening bell, ringing the closing bell. We're going to grab a pint after this, have a little bit of fun here. He's up with his wife in Kansas City. Sorry what my Bills did to your team. I don't know what to tell you, but the Bills are just legit. We're running through the Cowboys, we're running through the Chiefs, we're running through everybody. We're just taking names up in here. But this market is taking names. We talk about this being a bull market, and about it's a bull market until it isn't, and then you see a day like today, Nvidia through highs, Qs just continuing to press, almost a full % to the upside today. It's been super impressive, but you know what? Guess what got off the schneid today? Now, okay, I shouldn't have shown the weekly chart here, because then it kind of sucks. But I did want to show that you had some strength in natural gas. UNG of all things today, believe it or not, it's been an absolute dumpster fire overall on the daily, natural gas, but you did have a bounce and a continuation move today. It wasn't the biggest. It's going to be USO leading the percentage gainers, up 1.4. After that, you had the SPY and the Qs leading the session. It was not a day of a huge market breadth to the upside, unfortunately. So a couple of things, just starting off with oil. Like, yes, we had a strong move we had a strong day, and we have been bouncing off the lows, but you are still channel down on USO. We have not really broken trend. Maybe if we can climb and close above 70, then you start to break that trend into the upside. That's what everyone's looking for. I'm sure at some point they'll start replenishing the strategic oil reserve. Got to happen eventually, but not just yet. So the trend is still your friend if you're looking to the downside there, but showing some signs of strength. The bigger story, the NASDAQ, baby. It's just the NASDAQ world. We're all living in it. Yes, you had a bit of a dip at the end of the day, but it's just more green upon more green upon more green. When we talk about this being an upward trend, we're going to have Michael Nos, and he's long the markets. I mean, everybody's long the markets in your long term, but in the trading, we've had bulls up on the desk for I don't even know how long. We can't even seem to make it a bear market. It doesn't happen. You're just continuing to go higher, and it might be a slow creep, but you've just got to stick with it. Now, not everything is roses today. What's the worst thing in the market today? Of course it is. Of course it's the TAN ETF again. I mean, why not? Just when it was finally making a bottom, then it's down 2% plus today. But you know what? The good sign is, the good news, you had SolarEdge coming out of the index. Again, it's been a dumpster fire. I'm not calling a bottom on this. And yes, you had to pull back today. But this is 40. This is a higher low 44. This is a channel breakout on the daily chart. And you know what? In this recent pullback, it's held and has yet to break previous resistance. So there's signs of a bottom happening on this ETF. Some of the solar names are starting to wake up, come back to life. When the Fed starts talking about lowering rates, capital intensive, those types of names, they're going to start to rebound. That's what you're finally starting to see here. Individually, SolarEdge, of course, coming out of the S&P 500. That sell-off has already happened. Obviously, you can start to get some buying in sympathy. You had Uber start to sell off as well after they got their big bounce. So what was the big trade today? Well, there's no question that Meta is going to be, like, that was the barn burner. And a lot of times you'll be looking for opportunities, you can have all your ideas out there, and then something jumps out that wasn't part of your original plan. Like just wasn't there, it wasn't something you were thinking was gonna set up, and then suddenly you're at a key price level, which is the most key thing you're looking at in the morning. And that's what happened today on Meta. So on the daily chart, you can see Meta, super strong stock, all that good stuff, yada, yada. But I'm just gonna pull out maybe we'll pull out the 5-minute chart here and full screen that one for you. Because I'll start from the 5 and then to the 15, I'll go to 15, then go to the 5-minute chart. Because Meta was chilling out at about 335 in the pre-market, like right around the open. But you had this big 338 top from last week. Now this wasn't looking like it was gonna make that kind of a break. It felt as if we got to 338, it would be after a long morning rally where you're looking to play some 11 o'clock noon fades and then worry about that level. Fast forward, and we'll maybe move this 5-minute to a 3-minute, slight difference. Then right away at the open, within a matter of a minute or two, you are testing that 338 level. So all of a sudden, you go from, okay, thinking that this is not going to be a 9:30 open play, it's not one of the stocks I'm watching in the first 5 minutes, to it is breaking one of the biggest levels you're going to find right away. So I flipped over, I had no plan of action for it on the breakout at 9:30, so pivot to the only thing I knew what to do at that moment was just play a clean break level with a target entry for a tight stop. So that's all I did. And from the 3 into the 1, and now there obviously would have been better ways to do this because I could have held this trade, but it broke out that 38, it went stair step, immediate rejection at 340, so was able to get in and out like easy peasy. It's going to be the easiest $2 move you're going to find. Grab about $1.25 out of it, all said and done, risking about 20 cents. But just because it came out of nowhere, and you're making a quick trade, because I don't want to sit there trying to have some big long-term, this is my whole when I wasn't even thinking about it type of deals, you got to be able to pivot. And the pivot was to look back at what had happened and set up the next trade. If it was an out at 340 on the even where the sellers came in on that 1 and 3 minute chart, or 1 minute chart, then what it should have been when it dipped back in at about 945, broke 340, and then reclaim that level. That's your re-entry point. Either you get that dip in here, get the long back through 40 to the local bottom, 50 cents, 60 cents worth of risk, or just the retake of the high of the day and then trend up. Now there's nothing wrong with when you see something important happening at the open, you jump to that stock and take the first opportunity you get. And maybe it's gonna be a scalp trade because you didn't have a different setup in there. You jump to something in your playbook. A standard breakout play that either works right away or doesn't, that's an easy one in a strong stock. A fade if it's a big resistance level and you're bearish on the stock with a tight stop, that can be in the playbook. But if it sets up something to hold, you got to be able to get back on over to it. Meta, as much as it was easy money for the long early, it could have been easy money on the continuation as well. So I'll be a little bit disappointed in that. Not completely though, because we did capture the win. The other thing I want to get to, obviously there were a lot of good opportunities to trade today, but I want to say we always talk about relative strength and relative weakness. Again, if you're not trading right at 9:30, identify relative strength, identify relative weakness, because that's what I saw over in Intel. Now, this is not to say it's the easiest trade out there, but when Nvidia was ripping, when the market was ripping and going higher, all you saw with this stock was dump at the open, try to get packed above the even dollar, right to 46, fails 46. It's not that difficult. You're shorting the 46 level, you're shorting underneath it, you get down in the 45, 60s, it comes right back in the afternoon, provides you a failure at the exact same level. There's a reason you go back to the well for these types of trades. because you find a key price level and you know what you want to do with it. Again, it's all about risk to reward, but Intel, relatively simple to work and manage a position where you're risking less than 10 cents and you're able to get 25 to 35 cent moves. So that's why I like Intel. It was clear it was relatively weak all day long on a day where Nvidia was absolutely and abjectly ripping faces off. And speaking of which, I'm not going to talk about this market and not get to Nvidia. We're going to get to the Nos boss in a quick little second here. But if I'm going to slap the fail on not doing anything, it was missing the 500 break on Nvidia because my stop was not aggressive enough. So I crossed up to 521 cents on the break on Nvidia today. Obviously, that was the wrong thing to do, but there's always a price you're not willing to pay. I don't use market orders when I'm taking a breakout trade. I always try to use limit orders. If I can, as I said, there's always a price you don't want to pay, but this is what it looked like when it broke 500. You just got it. You want to have this trade. And I think if I put like a 40, I probably get it if I put like 30s or 40s, but that was as clean on a 1 minute chart. Your first red candle's off of $1.50. It then continues to trend higher till it gets to 504, holding higher lows the entire way. That is a clean breakout trade. Again, a more aggressive stop order would have worked for me. I was not aggressive enough off this level, so it was a bit of a missed opportunity. So with that, plenty of great trades to be had on this Monday. I can tell you, this Nvidia, closing at that $500 level, it's been wild. Every time it gets up here, it seems to want to retrace back in. Whenever I get the okay from Ram, we're gonna get to the Nos boss. Oh, we're gonna get to Michael Nos. And the funny thing is, I always like to put him on the spot. I'm giving him forewarning that the last thing I talked about was Nvidia and me missing out on the break. So he has a few seconds to anticipate what I'm gonna ask next. But hey, you know what time it is? It's time for a little trader talk with our favorite guest around here on a Monday. It is Michael Nos. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon.
Hopefully, we're getting a storm here tonight. So I don't know, like we're getting some weather this evening. I hope you're not going to get any. I know it gets a little crazier out east there, but so I hope all.
We're getting something right now. So I was actually going to give the same caveat as last week that if I disappear, we're having another no snow, thankfully, so I don't have to go out and shovel it. But yeah, some pretty wild wind out there right now.
Well, make sure you use that proper form when you're shoveling. You know, like don't lift with the back. Like get in there, use the hips, all that good stuff. We don't want you getting hurt or anything like that. But before I ask you about, like, look, it's a holiday, sort of week, and then next week as well, and the approach that you talked about it this morning, and the bull market that we're in, all that good stuff. But I just mentioned, like, I missed a trade on Nvidia on a breakout trade. And so a lot of times you'll be sitting there. And for me, the first thing I do when I miss that trade is just, I almost don't want to take the next thing it sets up in that stock because I don't think I'll be thinking clearly. When I miss that free $1.50 move on it, I then don't take that next trade. So now what happens to you when you sit there staring for a perfect setup and then for whatever reason, you don't get the trade? And then you see the upside. Like, do you have something that you do or you tell yourself as you're adjusting to that reality, because it happens all the time?
Go for a walk is one of the good things, but yeah, it hits. As someone who used to day trade and then now I'm almost exclusively a swing trader, it hits you even harder because the research that I put in on individual ideas can be a lot because I'm applying a lot of capital to them and I'm holding them for long periods of time and all of that. So having an idea and missing it really, really hurts. There's really no good answer other than you have to kind of clear your head, take a walk if you need to, set your alerts for if potentially that gets back to the price you're interested in. You can watch it again to see if there's maybe a secondary setup there. But what I just try to tell myself over and over again is just the mantra, I guess, that I say in my head all the time is the next 10,000 trades. And what I'm meaning by that is that if you're actually trying to trade for a long period of time, any individual trade in the long run shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter whether it was a good trade or a bad trade, because you're not, betting the house on every trade. So you're not either going to get rich or you're going to get poor in any trade. So I always try to, before I enter every trade, the question I ask myself is, if I did this 10,000 times, what do I think the outcome would be? And then when I miss a trade, I say, listen, there'll be 10,000 more. And then that at least helps me, know that there's another bus that comes by, right? A nice Warren Buffett quote is the whole, you can, it's the same as baseball, except you don't have to swing. There is no called strikes, I think, in stocks, I think is the quote.
No, that is the best analogy out there. I kind of try to follow the same thing. I think when you're trading long enough, eventually at some point, like you don't even think about things in the day-to-day. You think about things like, how was the quarter, and you start to really get that long-term. It's like anything when you're older. Like your time perspective changes, as it should. I think is you should measure success a little bit differently. But let's get to some nuts and bolts of this. We had another update today. We just continue to press. I mean, slowly grind higher. There was a bit of a sell-off at the end of the day. Not a huge one, but there was a bit of a sell-off on the Qs at the end of the day. But we're still continuing to press higher into this turn. It's not overwhelming volume or ripping your face off in the overall market. There's some names that definitely gave some opportunities. So, what are you looking at right now to set up this week? Have you changed anything? I know you're obviously sitting in the money on some good longs, which is a great place to be at this particular point. We are getting very close to the Santa Claus rally. I put that in air quotes because even though there is a definition for it, I always find it interesting that some people seem to think it's the entire month of December. It's not. But we are getting close to it, though. We're getting close to maybe some tax loss selling. Do you have any plans with your positions based on those two things?
Well, so first of all, for everyone that's watching, stay tuned to Friday morning when I'm going to be on, because I'm actually going to take some time. I'm gonna dive into the stats behind the Santa Claus rally, and we're going to go over exactly what it is, what the statistics mean, what it is and what it is not. Because you're right, Neil. There's a whole bunch of I don't know if it's intentional misinformation, but just people thinking, yes, it's all of December and it's a guaranteed thing. And again, I'll break all that down for you guys. But I'm not doing a whole lot because of the kind of segment I had this morning where I talked about we are nearing these resistance points. So if you go to my screen real quick, this is the heat map, and you guys are going to get access to this where you can build your own tree maps and trade ideas very, very soon, days and maybe even sooner. I hear from the devs. So this is my tree map that I have open and I look at all the time, where it's all of the ETFs which I focus on. And you can see it's pretty split down the middle. We had solar down and uranium up, and then regional banks down, and the SPY up. It was a very split market, and I heard you, Neil, in the beginning there saying there wasn't a lot of breadth in the market, and that's a chart that we have down here at the bottom that I always like to highlight too, saying the same thing. This is basically every stock in the market, and it's showing what's advancing or what's up on the day versus what's down on the day. And you can see there was a little more in this down column than there was in this up column. So it was very much one of those markets that was led by these big cap names. So that makes it so it hasn't really changed my thinking too much. And the fact that, we were in a low volume environment and we are stuck within this range on the SPY over the last few days. Even though the number was up today, it didn't feel, I guess, for lack of a better term, that we were up today. So I am still in that wait and see mode, hoping for a pause this week. My perfect scenario would be a pause this week to give me some good bases to play off of into this Santa Claus rally into next week and in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, like sometimes there's nothing better than a good consolidation or a pullback to give you the next leg as a trader. And that's the weird thing. Like when you'll hear traders say this, "Oh, I'd like for this stock to come down." I'm like, don't you own the stock, or don't you like it long? And it's like, well, yeah, because I'm looking for the next trade to get the next up leg, and nothing else is setting up for it. One noticeable thing, because when you put that heat map up, now I didn't notice this until you put the heat map up, but you see URA again? I mean, can you throw that back up there again? Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's standing out. It just made a press to the 30 level. I just put that up. That's still in a good trend on the daily. So again, like there were pockets today that looked pretty good. The regionals have been in a breakout and they pull back in 10. I mean, what can you even say about about these solar
Yeah.
names?
Yeah. No, it's and not to toot my own horn too much, but it's been my best sector this year. It's been something I've been pounding the table a lot on, is this uranium play. You can just see it trades. These are the kind of technical charts as a technician that I absolutely love, because you have an up move followed by some kind of sideways consolidation, followed by another up move, followed by some consolidation, followed up move. So I hate the term an easy trader, but so far this trend has been very easy. There's been very few shakeouts or attempts to hit stop losses, and just a nice solid stair stepping higher of an uptrend. Now, I don't know the specifics behind it, but I know that if I zoom out here into a monthly chart or a long-term chart, there's a lot of room to go, right? This uranium was up to the $200 area not insanely long ago on this monthly chart, and we are technically just breaking out of this base. So I believe that this is going to be something that I'm going to keep my eyes on going into 2024, because if we're just breaking out now, and if you kind of squint to see it, we do have a potential little cup and handle look here. We could get a solid breakout in uranium that could cause even more up moves. So this is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. And I totally agree, Neil. When I saw this as the #1 leader on all of the sectors I watch, I believe there's around 100 on this list. That got me very interested today as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. Like, that's, I mean, that's part of review. I mean, I don't know what you're, actually, maybe I should ask you this. When you're doing your review and your preparation, like, I know I tend to, even as a day trader, I always start top down. Everything begins with, like, what is the overall market doing, or what did it do, and what can it do? And then maybe going down with the individual sectors of the things I'm looking to trade. And then you sort of narrow it down to the individual names. I feel like that's almost everybody's process.
Yeah, and that's the most common, and I think it makes the most sense for the most amount of people, because if the entire market is in a downtrend, then that makes the sectors that are in uptrends way more interesting. If everything is going up, it actually makes my job as a relative strength trader much harder. I heard you talk about your Intel, AMD thoughts when I was in the green room there, and it's the same thing from a swing trading point of view. I love when the market goes down, because as a relative strength guy, it makes my job way more easier. I just need to find the stuff that didn't go down with the market.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I find like at the open, like if you have a couple of plays that I'm looking for, like once those is sort of worked out, the next thing I'm looking for at about 9:35, 9:40 into 10 o'clock. Okay, if the market's going up, what's not going with it? When the market pulls back, the market's like, hey man, like what's actually still strong? Because that can give you those easier trades to sort of work up. Not that anything's easy, but when the market is, at the end of the day, I mean, you can sit there and you can hunt for a straight fastball. You can try to hit the curve all day. I mean, give me the straight heater, and I'll be good to go when I'm in the batter's box. Not that I couldn't hit a slider, but it's easier when it's nice and straight. I love the baseball analogy. I was a baseball guy. So I don't know about you, but I love those analogies for baseball. You already dropped one, so I get one too.
Exactly. But no, I think that's actually one thing that you're gonna love when we get you these heat maps. Is it's something, again, I day trade more for, I call it engagement, just to keep me interested in and looking at the market all day. But I've been loving them for that, because it's very easy to go to a heat map and just say, okay, the market is down. Let me focus on the big green boxes and start to click through those, and vice versa. The market is up. Let me click on the big red ones as well. So again, it's the same. It's what I do for swing trading. I think it works just as well as day trading. People ask me all the time, for like kind of one, I guess, idea of the market that I could kind of pass on to them. And I think it's got to be relative strength, relative weakness. There's a whole bunch of academic papers on them that I can share with anyone. My X things down below, if you want me to, I can send them over. If you're a nerd like me and you like reading that stuff, there's academic papers that do them. A lot of successful traders I see, both you guys with day trading and other swing traders, investors, use it. I think, again, I hate just like you using the word easy, but I think it is the simplest way to look at the market. Is okay, the market's going down, just whatever my time frame is. If the market's going down on that time frame, just show me the stuff that's not going down.
Yeah, and when we talk about support and resistance, the reason why, and from a fundamental standpoint, why I think it's the first place for a lot of traders and why you should look at it, because the easiest thing to do in a sense is when other people are buying and buying for a lot of money, then you just want to join where big money is buying. And big money buys at support levels. Like it's just like that's where it's showing you that there's an acceptance of that price. Stock's going down into it, and it finds more buyers and sellers. And all you're doing is joining the party. And it's easier to join the party than be the person that sets it all up. And you know what it's like. I mean, you have to host, you have to get all that other stuff. You got to be the leader out there. It's just so much easier to just show up, have a few brews, and enjoy the evening. And that's what you're doing when you're buying off support and resistance. Now, that's a weird analogy, but to me, it makes a heck of a lot of sense. I think every trader, when you're starting out, it's the simplest thing that you can look to. And just, if I can, I have that URA chart up. And I think what you were saying, why something like this is technically simple is because of the notion that you saw what happened, that previous resistance turned into support without shaking you out. And it was doing that. Easy support bottoms, but when it broke the next channel up, the obvious support level was supported. You had a top at 24 change, and then you had dips into just underneath 25 that never violated it. That is about as easy as it gets in terms of a setup. You know exactly where you're wrong. You have an idea where you want to get in. So on that note, we got a few minutes left in here. Is there anything you wanted to end with? Obviously, everyone has to tune back in on Friday because we can get your chat on the Santa Claus rally. Perfect time for doing it. But any final thoughts here?
So I was going through, and I've shown this a few times on the show. We have this system in Trade Ideas that I built, speaking of relative strength, which we call TI strength. And what this is doing is it's ranking all of the stocks in the market in real time based off how strong they are relative to all of the other names in the market. It's doing so with this kind of complicated ranking algorithm. We've back tested it. It works. I think we've gone back 6 or 7 years, and we've been using it for 3 years. It generally outperforms the market. Now, it's not trading low float penny stocks. It's going to triple your money or so, but generally outperforms the market. So I was actually clicking through this again while I was in the green room, just hanging out, and there is a lot of shipping names. So this is, again, I haven't flushed out this thought, but I think it's good to share with you guys anyway. A couple of the top names, Yelp, but that's not really interesting to me. It's a nice looking chart on Yelp, but it's not super interesting. But this Sky W is air transportation. This GOGL is a deep sea transportation, and then TK is another deep sea freight. So I don't know if it's Christmas related. It's everyone sending their stuff around. But just one thing that I noticed when I was going through, again, one of my favorite scans of the relatively strong names out there, seeing a lot of shipping names. I don't know if there's something on the horizon or maybe some news that I missed. But if you're doing some scanning tonight, I think that's a good place to look.
And as you say that, I only happen to know this because, like, in our morning chat, in the chat room on the show in the morning, when I open it up, there's always conversations going on for the traders, and then we're talking about the shipping stocks. And of course, there actually is news because there's issues going on in the Red Sea with Red Sea traffic being paused, so you're getting some moves in the shippers. But as you just said there, if you're not looking, maybe you're not just following Reuters and reading every single news story. Everything starts with price action. Right? Like as a trader, I don't care if there's news. I care if there's price action, and then if there's news, that's even better if it happens to be causing to happen. So you want to have a scanner that gets you the idea, and then you can worry about, okay, well, what's the news? Do I really like it? If that's part of it, or just do you look at the technicals? Now, in an upward move, it doesn't hurt to have a catalyst. I'm a believer in that. I'd rather something be going up for a reason that attracts other types of traders and other buyers as well. It just makes it easier for you. But that's a great look. I look forward to seeing that scanner on my platform.
I'll send it over to you.
As always, thank you, Michael. I hope you guys don't get a bunch of snow, but generally speaking, you're on the East Coast, so you're probably going to get a bunch. So have fun shoveling, or don't, and make sure you stay safe. Don't hurt the old back there. Thank you as always.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys on Friday.
As always, a lot of fun there with the man, the myth, the legend, the Nos boss himself, which we always like to do. Look, fantastic analysis. I love what I love about Michael is how simply he breaks things down for you. Trading isn't easy, but sometimes if you can make the concepts and the ideas to follow a little bit more simple, that's the way to go. We got about a minute to go, at least according to that clock that I see ticking down every single time that we're doing this. And so we'll get into some roll call here. I do see some regs out there, so we're going to jump right into it. Darwin, as Darwin in the chat shouting out the Breakfast Club. And I didn't know we had a name for the early regulars in the chat in the morning, but I like it. We're going to call you guys the Breakfast Club. Generally speaking, between 6:45 and 7 when I'm in, that's when the stream goes live. And the Breakfast Club are the people in the chat. So Fat Figure is always the first person in there. Shout out to you, Darwin. Now we have a name for the group. Shout out to Michael Lloyd getting that final spin in. I see what's up. Tony Price in the chat as well. Shout out to you, Mike Pena, Jacob, Bears versus Bulls. Thank you, Bears versus Bull, every single day. Best moderator in the business. You know what's up. Juan Padilla, let's go. John E, Prania, Trey Only. We got Pavel in the chat. What up to you? There is Lava News, the sweet and salty. I'm not finishing that one. Bristol, shout out to you. Fat Figure, there you are. The Crazy Stitch Lady. Join the Breakfast Club. Would love to see you there, Crazy Stitch Lady. I don't know what that name's about, but it sounds pretty interesting. We got Howell Capital Trading. Shout out to you. Mr. Westermeyer, what are you doing in the chat? We're literally going for a brew in like 5 minutes. You're around here somewhere, but somehow he's still in the chat. That's pretty amazing. Shout out to you, Mr. Westermeyer. More Cansado. Jai, what up? Kev82, Vanilla Man in America, what up? Michael Lloyd, we got you. For Profit, we got Charlie Taff, we got GRL Trader, that's a new one. Duke 684, Brian Thompson, Rob Newland, more Jacob. We got Derek Thompson again. Mr. Westermeyer, you still there? I don't know. You're here, so I don't know why I don't see you. You're around here somewhere, though. Eliza, shout out to you. Agitated Stallman as well. We got Alric. We got NASCAR All Out. Neil MacArthur, even though you spell it with an I, it's all good in my books. TL Bryant as well. Tango Sierra DVDRD43. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Can't get them all, but thank you everyone. Fuzzy Bear, I see you as well. Connie, HPDS, I can go all day with this, but I can't because we got to roll. It's been an absolute fun one. Shout out to Obi. He's still here doing what he does, which is review his trades. That's what a good trader should do. That's why traders stay late. But shout out to Obi for filling in for Sean. He's filling in for me for the next couple of days. I take some time off to be with the family, so it should be a good one. You're in the best hands. Mr. Katina is back tomorrow. I'm going for a brew with Mr. Westermeyer. We're going to have some fun. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Well, you won't see me, but you'll see the Trader TV Live crew. See ya.